Turns out they're the idiots for. Had it not been for the serious injuries they suffered by the hands of Winger, these old keepers would all be up in arms towards the old witch at this point. Worse was the fact that they could tell Yun Ruo she had no remorse over her own actions, thus infuriating their hearts even further. Why didn't you tell us Bai Yen is the real owner of the amulet? Keeper Zun almost could hold himself back there despite his good kind nature. Why did you impersonate her identity? I didn't. She gave me all heaven, so that means I am its owner. I didn't impersonate her. Ha! Keeper Zun's tone now got cynical and irate. Then did I ever tell you the amulet can only have one owner in this life? You said nothing despite that fact. I suspect you are purposely conspiring to destroy our world. Yun Ruo she just stared dumbfoundedly over the accusation. It's true she's jealous of Bai Yen, and went through long lengths to destroy her former friend. But she's never once thought of ruining this world. Why can only Bai Yen get the good stuff in this world? We are both the same, born from the same area, lived similar lives. So why does everyone turn to her and give her everything while I get nothing? The Celestial Lord loves her. The Demon King secretly loves her. And everyone in the Celestial Palace respects her. And she's not only talented, she's also more beautiful than I. Even those maids under her never treated me with respect. Keeper Zun, I was wrong. I know my fault, please forgive me. Climbing up to the old senior's leg and clinging onto it. I am simply too jealous of Bai Yen. That's why I didn't dare tell you any of those things. You know me. You know I'm not the scheming type. I really didn't mean to. If it was in the past, then the kind keeper would surely believe her lies. But the little tidbit about her not being the scheming type only infuriating him even further. Seeing her false plea having no effect on Zun, the old witch instead turns to Keeper Ling as her last resort. Please, Keeper Ling. You always doted me the most. You wouldn't really hurt me, would you? Scram! Returning from his initial painful look, the grumpy keeper directly kicks the woman away so that she wouldn't touch him. Love and pain always go hand in hand. The more the love, the more the pain. He's fond of Yun Ruo, that's true. But that's only under the premise of her being the savior. Furthermore, he didn't know her true face to be so vile and disgusting, which only impacted him all that much more. Heck, it's a wonder he hasn't slain the old witch by now. That's how much humiliation and hurt this old senior felt inside. Feeling the hurt after being ruthlessly kicked away, Yun Ruo hurries to scan the area in a circle for help. However, what she found wasn't the familiar eyes of those who cared for her. Rather, it's the strange glares of anger and disgust. In that instant, the woman only felt humor and mockery as she cried out those tears. So all they ever cared about is my status as the savior, the owner of the amulet? They never once cared about me as a person? So that's 1,000 years worth of time with them is worth nothing. I see how it is now. Haha. She murmurs a laugh like she's finally resigned to her own fate. Turning to Bai Yen, who's still inside that pillar of light, the old witch burns with jealousy once again. Bai Yen, you really shouldn't have come back. You never should have. But don't think you've won everything. Take a good look around. Look at these people from the Celestial Palace and their faces. They are the ones who murdered you 1,000 years ago, and now demands your help. Going back? 1. After saying this, Yun Ruo's eyes shifts back to Keeper Ling and the others, her laugh sardonic and cynical as well. Whether or not I have deliberately misguided you bunch before isn't the issue anymore. It won't change the fact that it was you all who hurt her. Don't forget, it's Keeper Ling over here who killed her and ruined the baby in her stomach. You still think she's going to help the Celestial Palace? How laughable, ha ha ha. Rage spewed out of Keeper Ling's eyes at being called out. You shut up. Unfazed, the old witch merely closes her eyes in anticipation for what's to come. She's fearfully frightened inside. But no matter what, she's not going to let them see that. Of course, out of grudging smite, she knows, this time, she had lost everything. Status, pampering, and him. Bai Yen, looking embarrassed. Keeper Zun speaks first after resolving the struggle in his heart. Before we allow us to sincerely apologize for what we've done. Indeed, we did a lot of wrong things under Yun Ruo's deceit. But even so, I hope you can return to the Celestial Palace with us. His eyes are full of guilt, because as long as the thought of Yin Rua, she tricking them into doing all those things, continued to hover in his head, he would gnash his teeth in frustration. Bai Yin did not respond though. She's silently staring at the glowing amulet in her hands like she's hypnotized into a different world. Keeper Zun only got more embarrassed as he got ignored. Wanting to do something, the old senior forces himself up from the ground to walk closer to the woman despite the pain. Yet right as he did so, a small body of a child gets in his way to block the path. You're not allowed to come near my mother. My mother hates you, and I want to kill you. In the previous life I wasn't born yet, so that allowed you villains to hurt my mother. But no more. I am here now and won't let anyone make a move against her. There's extreme wariness in the little guy's face when glaring at Keeper Zun, which only reinforced the idea of how much wrong these supposed men of righteousness have committed over the years. And sure enough, of the many individuals who came today from the Celestial Palace, not one could keep a straight face that indicated they were free of guilt. For example, Keeper Ling had always been the most arrogant and stubborn of the bunch, due to his grumpy nature. However, not even his thick skin could keep himself from flushing red due to shame. He's got an attitude that true, but he's not an evil vile individual who did everything out of selfish desire. He really did want to save the celestial realm. It's one of the main motivations for his past crimes. Bai Yin, the grumpy keeper, slowly steps forward like his peer, those eyes gaunt with pain and guilt. I know what I've done. What we've done can never be redeemed. I ask for nothing for ourselves, but for the world that we live in. In order to combat the great calamity that's to come, we need your help. If it's our lives that you want for that help, then we will offer our heads as the price. Compared to the long-term survival of all living things, they as the protectors must take responsibility. It's their duty and their consciousness speaking. Going back? 2. Unfortunately for these pleading fools, the answer was once again utter silence. Since the moment Bai Yin fell into her trance-like state, the lady has not once responded to anything or anyone. She's fully enveloped in her own inner world of blurry images. Then suddenly, something occurred with the pillar of light shrouding the lady. It fluctuated, giving no obvious sign of what happened in that moment. However, the woman herself felt it from the inside. Bai Yan's been wandering aimlessly for a while now inside a strange void, due to all heaven's effect. But her aimless wandering didn't last long when a huge towering structure suddenly appeared in front. She halted, baffled and surprised by the familiarity of the building. It's a skyscraper. There are also people from what she observed, mostly men and women, chatting with a smile on their faces as they carried out their business. However, what caught Bai Yan's attention were the clothes they wore. Each and every one of them had the same type of clothing people on Earth wore. This is Earth. Realization dawned on the lady, knowing full well what the image represented. Does all heaven want me to return to Earth? Right as Bai Yan's brain became stalled by her own thoughts, a faint yet distant voice echoed over, wooing her to move forward, and that there's something she must retrieve from the other side. Why Earth? I'm originally from the celestial realm, so what could possibly be over on that side worthy of retrieving? Can it be? I only got reincarnated on Earth the previous time, because all heaven sent me over there? Just as she's pondering on what to do and the consequences of leaving so abruptly, a warm light pounced over without indication, shrouding her and melting that fading figure. Demon City outside the city gate. Bai Xiachen had just swung his head around to check up on his mother, when he saw the mildly transparent body of Bai Yan's figure. Immediately, the boy's face went bleakly white with shock. Without another thought, the young lad threw himself over to his mother's leg to cling onto it, refusing to let go like he's afraid doing so would wind up with him being abandoned. Yen or Xiachen? Bai Ning also saw this scene, and flew into a horrific shock. She also wants to enter the light to be not left behind. However, the resistant pushed her back, and causes the grandmother to stumble backwards. Grandma, Bai Xiachen speaks to comfort his grandmother. I think all heaven is sending me and mother to another place. We might not be able to return for a while. Please take care of my siblings while we're not around. No. Panicking now after getting that detail, Bai Ning tried several more times to enter the light pillar to no avail. She's being repelled repeatedly like all the rest. Where are you going? Don't leave. Don't go. Her voice carried a heart-wrenching tone that could make anyone tear up. Even so, this poor grandmother had no other choice but to watch her own daughter and grandchild slowly disappear from this world. Bai Ning crumbled then after the fact, paralyzed on the ground like a lifeless doll that's devoid of energy. There's hollowness in those eyes, which gradually transformed into a burning fire when they landed on the keepers not far away. Exactly then, as if timed, a painful howl of a roar bursts forth from the city, followed closely by a purplish figure zooming out from the palace and onto the battlefield. This new entry had a devilish look that could mesmerize any living female, yet his face had nothing but panic and distress plastered all over the surface. Where's my wife? Where's Yin Yan? Tell me, where did my wife go? Where did she disappear to? Going back? 3. Song may not have personally witnessed his wife and son's disappearance from this world, but the linking contract between Bai Yan and himself told the Demon King all that he needed to know. The man couldn't sense the connection at all, and that worried him greatly. Speak, Dragon Flame, where is my wife? He asks with bloodshot eyes. Taken aback at being called out there, the old goat had to take a good second to gather himself in order to mutter a response. I don't know, we watched her and the young prince disappear before us. I don't know where they went. Disappear? Humph. There is no place that I can't reach in this world. Song slams his fist against the ground and makes a huge denting crater on the earth, his voice hoarse and outraged at the incompetence of his followers. Go find State Teacher and summon him back. I want to see him right away. Aside from himself, there's only one other person in this world Song could trust, and that would be the seemingly always missing State Teacher, who haven't shown his face for a good while now. Somewhere else in the demon realm, a certain charismatic individual was currently staring up at the blood-colored moon when he suddenly sneezed. It's as if some predator had locked their eyes onto him from the back. It looks like something have happened to Her Highness the Queen. He sniffles his nose and returns his gaze over to the pool not far away. There's a naked sleeping girl currently soaking in it. As long as you stay here for 49 days, then the seal in your body will be lifted. It's safe here, so nothing will happen after I leave. When that time comes, we will meet again in the celestial realm. Whisking his sleeve after the thought, State Teacher began walking away through the flower field, his figure moving casually, yet incredibly fast, that it left afterimages in his wake. Just then, exactly at this moment, the girl began to stir, flicking that eyelash and furrowing that forehead like she's in pain. That complexion also turned a palish white, showing how bad of a dream she was having. It's the effect of having the seal lifted, thus allowing the floodgate of past memories to come swimming back to herself. Like how her older brother fell in love at first glance with the woman from the celestial realm, then of how she supported him and suggested all those dumb ideas of wooing said woman. Of course, all those bad ideas turned out poorly and resulted in her said brother being shooed out the door by a broom. It both shamed the family and the entire demon realm. Then later on, the unexpected occurred, and the woman got persecuted by the celestial realm, letting her older brother finally winning the lady's heart after saving her life. Because of that affection, a new life was formed and a baby would soon be upon them. One could still vividly remember her reaction to the news of a possible nephew or niece then. She tagged along with her sister-in-law everywhere, not wanting anything bad to happen. Sadly, in the end she failed, and the unborn child was lost as well as her sister-in-law. So my past is like that. Older brother and sister-in-law had long known each other, and it's only in this life that they can be together. Celestial realm. It's all because of the celestial realm that everything happened in the past. They persecuted her and forced the family apart. Shooting her eyes open, there's anger and hatred filling the beautiful girl's face. 49 days? Fine. I'll stay here for 49 days. Afterwards I will definitely go to that celestial realm and find those bastards. I don't care who will stop me, nothing will in my way. Earth 1. Atop a towering snow peak without a hint of civilization, pristine and white due to the shimmering cold substance which blanketed this ground, Bai Yin slowly comes to after being thrust into the light. She rubs her forehead, feeling the stinging pain of crossing over time and space. The lady had no illusion about what she experienced there. The uncomfortable sensation that's throbbing in the forehead told her all that it needed to confirm the fact. However, what did catch the lady by surprise was the familiarity of the place she's landed herself in. Is this the Merry Snow Mountain? According to her old memories of living back on Earth, this Merry Snow Mountain was the exact place where she attempted that feat of concocting a 9th-grade Dan pill, and also the very place where she got struck down by the lightning bolt due to her own carelessness and rash act. I'm back. Hurrying to glance down to her own clothes to confirm this wasn't all just a huge ruse by her own head. Perhaps the other world was all just a dream maybe? Anyways, Bai Yin saw the familiar red dress she wore before coming. For that she's relieved. Looks like my original body did get destroyed by the thunder back. Then so this time my body is the new one from the other world. But where's my son? Where's Xiachen? Searching the nearby vicinity, the mother couldn't find any traces of the boy. That could only mean one thing. The lad got transferred to another location other than the mountain here. I will need to get off this peak and look for him. I'm sure he's worried with me not around him. In this region where Bai Yin lived in her previous life, there are 4 small hidden clans that wielded a lot of influence. The Bai clan was among the ranks before she died. It's also where her mother hailed from. Following that was the Wen clan, Fu clan, and the Tian clan. Under normal circumstances, Bai Yin should technically be called Wen Yen, due to her father being part of the Wen clan. Unfortunately, that coward Wen Shan abandoned his wife during the crucial moment when the Fu clan and Tian clan attacked the Bai clan as a united front. The man claimed that the other 2 parties had the rumored support of the Water clan, the head boss of them all, so he didn't dare move against the foe out of fear for the risks involved. In the end, the Bai clan fell into ruins, and Bai Yan's mother and grandparents from that side of the family all died in that day. Since then, she changed her surname and left home of her own accord, never to return. All heaven, is it you affecting me by restricting my powers? Just now, the lady finally noticed the limit on her own powers after trying to tap into it. It's still there, but there's no way to control it, presumably the act of her amulet. It's understandable in a way. Bai Yin could relate to why. After all, Earth was a world without much spiritual energy in the air. Imagine a celestial-ranked cultivator descending upon this world. It would cause catastrophic damage to the ecosystem. The only issue she had with this arrangement was that all heaven didn't even ask, and instilled the restriction of its own accord. Fine, but we're going to have some serious talks about this is all over. You don't go making decisions for me without my consent. She murmurs, staring down at the amulet in her hand and making a sharp warning face. As if frightened by that look, all heaven actively vibrated like it's making an apology. It's an object, but that doesn't there's no will inside this item. Pleased by the reaction, Bai Yin smirks in a half-satisfied and half-grumpy manner before breaking out into a frown. She still needs to get off this mountain. With her powers limited, flying would be troublesome but no difficult. Yun. Perhaps it's the amulet's way of making up for the trouble. All heaven suddenly releases a series of light that shrouded over Bai Yan's body yet again. It sent her flying into the air despite not trying, allowing the lady to float through the sky at will without expending any energy. Since the Bai clan got destroyed many years ago by 2 of the oppositions, the opening position was eventually replaced by the Lin clan, who moved up thanks to that event. Therefore, the balance of power within the Wuxia world remains intact. Merely a change in name, and people with the Water clan continuing to act as the head boss of them all. It's just that everyone has desires. If it's in the past era, where the sword reigns supreme, then they would continue to remain in hiding. However, it's the modern age on Earth. Who wouldn't want some flashiness in their life? They're tired of the boring seclusion of the past. That's why all 4 clans have now moved their base into the cities. Furthermore, their influences have now expanded past the Wuxia world and into the regular people's lives like businesses and the military. They are not the government, nor a dictating force in a country, but the manpower and positions these 4 families wielded couldn't be underestimated. Bai Yin could care less about those details right now, of course. After she got off that snowy peak and into human civilization again, the first order of business this lady did was to undress herself and to replace those ancient-styled clothes with something more modern. Earth 2. Mommy, that sister is so pretty. Is she a star or something? She's dressed differently from us. A passing child points out, staring with her finger pointing in astonishment. Probably sweetie. She's likely making a film by dressing in those ancient-styled clothes. There's no way she's from the past or something. The child's mother comments, not thinking otherwise about her words being partially right or not. Bai Yin heard the conversation from the pair, of course, and couldn't help but make a helpless smile at that. It's undeniable that her outfit was standing out like a sore thumb in this city filled with people from this modern world. I wonder if my son is going to be able to adapt to this place by himself. I better find him soon, otherwise who knows what would happen with that face of his. After contemplating her options, Bai Yin didn't linger and continued on her way to the nearest clothing shop she could find. From initial inspection, the store didn't sell any outrageously expensive item, the average product that most common citizens could afford. The issue here though was the lady herself. She didn't have any earth money. No matter how thick-skinned someone was, trying to make a purchase without actual money was still an awkward situation. To remedy the problem, she shyly reached into her own pocket and pulled out a very nice-looking jade. Let's be clear, Bai Yin may not have any money for this country to use, but that doesn't mean she doesn't anything of value in her possession. This jade she pulled out was one of them that those 3 silly shifas of hers gave over the years. If sold at an auction, it would easily fetch millions. Hello there, miss. Mind if I use this jade to pay off what I for the clothes I chose? The saleswoman helping her paused at the proposal, clearly hitting a kink in her brain over the idea. Despite that, the lady retains a decent smile, while most would start getting angry at being stringed along. Miss, we also accept cards and checks if you don't have cash on you. Using a jade to. Please don't tease me, okay? Bai Yin knows her proposal was also against the norm and making things difficult for the saleswoman. But waiting until her jade sells at an auction would take too long, thus further delaying her mission of finding Bai Xiachen. Wait! Seeing that Bai Yin was about to turn away, a hollering cry suddenly came from the rear and roused the lady's attention. It's a handsome young man who called out. Boss! The saleswoman readily greeted the person and stood to one side, clearly letting the shop's owner to take over. I agree to your idea. We will accept the jade to pay for those clothes you chose. The man locks on like a fox at the object in her hand, donning a greedy smirk like he's found the deal of a century. So a jade for a set of clothes. Don't you think you're taking advantage of me with your deal? The corner of the man's mouth stiffened. Oh, beautiful. Didn't you say you want to trade the jade for the clothes anyway? Why are you changing your mind now? I'm not changing my mind. I'm only finding the deal to be too disadvantageous for myself. Bai Yin doesn't let herself slip despite the joy of getting an offer. If you are willing to do me a favor, then I can promise this jade to you. For a split second, her smiling face actually bedazzled the handsome young man. This owner of the clothing shop had a reputation for being flirtatious with the opposite sex, often bringing women to various establishments. But he could say in honest truth he's never met someone so unique and special from initial view. At this moment Ling Lang, the owner, actually found his heart thumping uncontrollably with monkeys egging him to move that dumb brain of his. Earth 3. What do you want me to do? Help me find someone. Unlike the clueless dote across from herself, Bai Yin already recognized the man across from herself. Ling Lang, the grandson of General Ling Kaiyuan, an important military official of this country, also the son of Bai Yan's young aunt. Based on their relationship, these two here are considered cousins due to their mothers being sisters. Sadly, such a close tie didn't help in their familiarity, due to the unfortunate demise of the Bai clan all those years ago. To be clear, Bai Yin did spend years in the wilderness by herself training, but that doesn't mean she was informationally blocked off from the regular world. She had her ways of learning things when coming out to buy ingredients and stuff for her alchemy. If you're asking me to search for a person, Then you should give me a photo at least. That way I can get a lead easier for you. Ling Lang himself found it surprising that a young lady like this would ask him to search for someone who could make such a beautiful rose search them out. Shaking her head. I don't have a picture of him, nor would he be in any database. However, I can provide you with a portrait. Based on his characteristics, he should be very easy to find. In a place like Earth, having an appearance like Bai Xiachen would be a 1 in a million. It's too outstanding. No information. Ling Lang appeared taken aback, his face becoming wary and suspicious. Is she looking for someone from the martial world? Only those that stayed out of modern society would be like this without any information to go upon. Mind if I ask, beautiful, who is it you're looking for, and how are they related to you? Ling Lang asks, brushing his hair to one side like he's all cool and stuff. It's obvious this guy was shooting electricity through his eyes. Oh my son. Oh my son. An audible shattering could be heard within the young man's chest at the confirmation. It's the sound of his heart breaking. It's not easy to see a woman who could make his heart fall for them. And the result was this person being a mother already? Oh, how the gods like to punish this flirtation young man. For a split second, Ling Lang wants to cry out of impulse. Wiping the invisible tears from his eyes, though they never existed, he forces himself to move forward out of business standards. All right, if you give me a portrait of your son, then I'll have someone go look for him. Why me? Why does she have to have a son already when she's so young? Pity, such a pity. I don't have a portrait on me, so I'll draw you one later. Thinking it over, Bai Yin got another idea too. Also, I want you to give me some money. That actually made the man visible twitch in the corner of his mouth. Didn't you say only one favor? It's true he has good feelings towards Bai Yin, but that doesn't mean he's going to be taken for a ride. A businessman would always be a businessman, that he won't change, not even for a girl. When did I ever mention it's only one favor? Bai Yin understood what her clueless cousin was implying at, and shot it down immediately. Besides, this jade in my hand is worth millions if put in an auction. Why should I give it up so easily like you thought? Money talks, especially when one was desperate, and without any on hand. This includes those reclusive martial art clans that are now living in the cities, as well, so it's just a matter of time before she needs to use some. Earth 4. There's something Bai Yin didn't mention as well, that the jade also held other properties which made it far more valuable than mere money. But Ling Lang didn't need to know that. Not yet anyways, unless he asks in the future. Showing a bemoaning face at the extortionary lady, Ling Lang reached into his own pocket and pulled out a credit card. Here, there's 1 million in there. The passcode is 5x times x times x, so keep it on you for now. I will get some more later on, after notifying the bank. Also, remember to come to me first if you got more jade of this quality in the future. In a few days it would be his grandfather's birthday, so he wants to use this jade to offer it as a gift. The filial grandson had a lot of confidence the present would make the old general very happy. Looking at her clueless cousin's reluctant face, Bai Yin quickly grabs onto the card like a mischievous fox that had won the exchange. Smirking in the face as she twirled around to leave. Oh right, I'll bring the portrait on my next visit, so start getting things ready. That's all she said before disappearing from the shop. Why do I feel like she knows who I am? Ling Lang complains, feeling ripped off in some way or cheated as a businessman. A while later, Bai Yin had just finished getting more things done when she happened to come across a girl in the middle of an open plaza. Around 17 to 18 years of age. The clothes on the lass may be worn and faded due to how many times it's been washed, but that delicate face couldn't be hidden. But more importantly, Bai Yin recognizes this individual that's handing out leaflets to the passers-by. Bai Yi, you don't have to work in these low-paying jobs, you know. Come with me and you will eat well and dress well. A young man dyed with yellow hair walks up and openly grabbed the lass by the wrist. What's so good about this kind of work anyways? With your appearance, I can get you a better job, okay? Biting that small lip, Bai Yi showed resentment and hostility towards this person. Leave me alone. I will not betray my own body. I can make a living perfectly with my own ability. Why should I sell my own body out? You're asking for it, Bai Yi. The yellow-haired thug grew irate and attempts to drag her away by using force. There are of course onlookers nearby in this busy street. They could see the struggle between the pair. However, right as one of the pedestrians wanted to help and break up the scuffle, the most unexpected thing happened. "What are you looking at? She's my wife. She ran away with another man and left our baby at home. Now I'm taking her back." "You're talking nonsense," Bai Yi cried, trying even harder to free her own wrist now. "I am not your wife. I am not your wife, so let go of me. Someone please help me." She starts whimpering, tears muddling her own words. "Quit making a scene, wife." The yellow-haired thug softens up in the voice to hide his inner grin. "I know you are unhappy with me not giving you more. I can also forgive you for cheating on me. But just come home with me. Our baby is waiting and is crying for you." That brought even more fear and tears to the poor damsel in distress. She had no delusion about what the other side intends to do after he drags her away. By then it won't just be selling out her body, it would be rape and perhaps more. "No, I'm not leaving, you let me go, I'm not leaving with you." Despite the growing impatience within the yellow-haired thug, the scum at least had the wits to know he couldn't hit her since there are so many witnesses. Then right as he's going to use more strength to get the deed done, a sudden impact hits him in the chest and sent him flying. Confusion promptly broke out among the crowd, corresponded with the turning of their heads at the source where a strong and dominant woman stood with her leg raised high in a kicking posture still. Earth 5. "Who are you?" the yellow-haired thug angrily asks, his face still white from the stinging pain in his chest. Bai Yin smiled at the person. "You say you are her husband? Then why don't you recognize me when I'm her sister?" Everyone became stunned. That's right. If he's really her husband, then why doesn't he recognize his wife's own sister? Forget about the crowd. Even Chu Yi herself was stunned there. Turning to look at the woman that vaguely gives off a sense of familiarity, the lass couldn't quite pinpoint where though. Nevertheless, it won't stop her from playing along to save herself. Pouncing over to Bai Yan's side with tears still flowing. "Sister, I don't know him, I really don't know. He just came up to me and started to claim he's my husband." Only now does the crowd understand what's happening and found a chill running through their spines. Imagine letting the thug get away with this. What would happen to the young lass then? Human traffickers are no joke. They're criminals that deserve to be punished heavily. Understanding he's been caught and exposed, the thug didn't want to linger anymore and made himself scarce. But not before shooting a glare in Bai Yan's way. A criminal knows not to stick around at the crime scene, because he won't be able to leave anymore if the cop shows up. I'm back, I'm Bai Yin," Bai Yin says after getting everyone to disperse. "You, Sister Bai Yin?" Bai appeared shocked and taken aback. "Yes, I'm back," though they are addressing each as sisters and family. But make no mistake, Bai wasn't biologically related to Bai Yin in any way. The lass was an orphan adopted by the family, and since she didn't have a last name, the lass was given the Bai surname and became the apprentice of Bai Yan's mother. Back then Bai wanted to follow this older sister of hers for sure, sadly, perhaps it's immaturity working, but the lass got left behind as well when Bai Yin stubbornly departed on her own. "Why are you handing out leaflets on the street? What about the money I left you before I left? The amount should be plenty for you to live a comfortable life, even if you splurged." Bai Yin asks after finding the situation odd. Meek and depressed, Bai hangs her head in shame before answering. "Sister Bai Yin, shortly after you left, your stepmother and her daughter deluded your father into taking everything back. They said I'm not a daughter of the Bai clan, so I have no right to inherit that wealth. Sister Bai Yin, I'm sorry. I'm so useless and could protect Shifu's belonging even after she's gone." Bai Yan's heart shook at the news. Slowly closing her eyes, a cold frost filled her soul. "Tell me, why is your strength all gone? How did it become like this where even a thug can bully you?" Bai Yi's body visibly stiffed over the inquiry. Hanging her head even lower, the lass didn't even dare to look up anymore. "His daughter? One. Her hands pulled into a clawing grip around those sleeves, indicating the lass didn't like what she's going to say. "I know I've brought shame to Shifu, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Sister Bai Yin." Bai Yi understands that it's a great fortune on her part to be taken as an apprentice by Bai Yan's mother. Therefore, it's a great humiliation that she couldn't protect the things left behind for herself. You don't have to apologize to me. Seeing how hurt and pained her own foster sister was acting, Bai Yan hurries to pull the lass into a hug to reassure her it's all right. The one who needs to apologize is me, it's me. Back in the other world, Bai Yan had no choice but to leave Bai Xiao behind due to how urgent the matter was. While over here on Earth, leaving Bai Yi behind was a deliberate and ignorant choice on her own part. That's why the fault doesn't lie with the lass, but herself who didn't think things through. Then again, Bai Yan did have good reasons to not bring her foster sister along though. The woman wanted to grow strong, meaning the journey ahead at the time would be perilous and uncertain. Furthermore, she herself didn't think her own father would be such a bastard to steal the inheritance from under his own deceased wife's student. Just thinking about that idea infuriated Bai Yan to no end, because it wasn't meant for him. Once upon a time I disappointed a lot of people because I wanted to become strong. Loosening her hug, Bai Yan stares into her sister's eye to get the point across. But the heavens let me live again. Let me understand affection and the value of family. The mistakes I made before, I won't make it again. That's saying it mildly. Technically it's not the heavens. It's the lightning bolts from that day striking her brains out and knocking her soul into another world. Guess that could even be called retribution for the mistakes on Earth, if it got down to the details. But enough about me. I want to know what's happening here. That thug, who is he and why is he pestering you? Bai Yan asks after noticing her own rambling. Bowing her head again, Bai Yi still had the look of a failure. It's your stepsister. They were called here by your sister. They want me to go work in the nightclubs to act as an escort. I always refuse them. My sister? Bai Yan pricks her brow in confusion. Your father and your stepmother's daughter, and she's about the same age as you. Bai Yi timidly explains, not daring to look up. Bai Yan felt like someone just punched her guts out in that split second. True, she's heard of how flirtatious those wealthy heirs are on Earth are. But she always thought her own father was different based on the old memories they had together. What love and being faithful. In the end he's the same as everyone else, and also a coward that abandoned mother in the last moments. Wait, hold on, you said she's around my age. You don't mean? Bai Yan asks again, trying to make sure she's not overthinking it and getting the wrong idea. His daughter? Too. She's your father's blood. Bai Yi's careful reply hits her sister like a hammer, sending Bai Yan twirling from dizziness. Undoubtedly, hearing it firsthand and making speculations are two different things. Back when she got tossed into the other world and became the Bai Yan of that side, she didn't feel any hurt due to it not being her true life. However, this here wasn't the case. All those memories from her childhood, the memories of her mother and father doting on her, they're all shattered now in full like a deceptive lie from her closest kin. Darkening in the face, Bai Yan's eyes revealed a flicker of frost that she only used against those foes that wronged her. Lead me to their home. At the request, the young girl only hung her head and made an uneasy posture. You don't have to be afraid, just show me the way. I'm not going to let them steal the things I gave you. They don't deserve what was my mother's. Bai Yan says, her smile reassuring and powerful. But, despite her own worries, Bai Yi still nodded after meeting her sister's gaze. Okay, I'll take you. Ever since that incident, the lass here has never wanted to step foot into that dreaded home again. However, if it's her precious sister Bai Yan who wants to go, then she's going to take her there regardless of the lass's own woes. The former Bai Mansion, an estate that's neither overly luxurious nor extravagant, a perfect unity between modern and traditional style in its construction. Mom, it's not easy for us to finally climb up to this position. I'm so happy. Speaking was a girl by the name of Wen Fei Fei, Bai Yan's stepsister, who currently had her head cuddled against the woman that sat next to herself on the sofa. But I heard Papa talking with someone over the phone earlier. He's still looking for Wen Yan, that bitch. She's already left home for so many years. I bet she dead somewhere out there by now. Chai Moon's gaze was all gentle and kind when smiling down at her own daughter despite the foul words coming out of that mouth. Fei Fei, she is still your papa's daughter, so how can he not want to find her? A tiger wouldn't hurt their cub, let alone your papa who is human. He's not the type to abandon their child. That only roused a new flare of anger in Wen Fei Fei's heart instead of soothing it. If that's the case, then why did he disregard us for so many years? Isn't it because Bai Yu and Wen Yan? Wen Yan vowed to never return, and even changed her to name to Bai Yan to show she's not related to us anymore. Humph. Moreover, it's because of such a rebellious daughter that I had to stay away from here for all these years. If it wasn't for Bai Yu's death, Papa wouldn't have called us here in the first place, so I hope that bitch never returns to begin with. Upon thinking up to here, when Fei Fei's delicate hands would begin to clench up in frustration and annoyance, due to the childhood she experienced. Unbeknownst even to her own mother, this girl had more than once snuck over to the Bai estate during her youth, and on every visit, she would see her beloved papa doting on another child. Imagine experiencing such a scene. Anyone would hold resentment in some way even if the fault lied with the one she cared about. His daughter? 3. She's unwilling to accept such a fate. Why should another daughter be taken priority over herself when they're both Papa's daughter? It doesn't make sense to her. Fei Fei, you know it too, coming here wasn't easy for us. Your Papa. Although he is selfish, but his love for Bai Yu is still sincere. It's just that he loves himself more. Also, the things we snatched from Bai Yi, your Papa only had us temporarily keep it for now. I estimate he's going to give it back to Bai Yan once she returns in the future. Back then the only reason Wen Shan would agree to giving them the privilege of taking care of those properties and assets were because of Bai Yi's status as an outsider. If it wasn't for that crucial point, no level of coaxing from this pair would matter in the eyes of that cowardly man. Fortunately for the mother and daughter here though, the selfish man didn't bother to check on the contents even after forcing Bai Yi to hand it over. As a result of that fact, some of the assets have been moved and secretly used by Chai Moon and her daughter here. For example, the Dan pills Bai Yin left behind were consumed by Wen Fei Fei, thus allowing her average constitution to grow exponentially compared to others of her age in the clan. Mama, do you think that Bai Yin is stupid or what? If she had those Dan pills, then her strength would have improved greatly. Yet instead she left it all to that outsider Bai Yi. Now it all benefited me. The last snickers a laugh, holding her older stepsister in contempt. Unbeknownst to her though, when Fei Fei's speculation wasn't exactly wrong. Those pills were given to Bai Yi by Bai Yin herself. However, they're not assets left behind by Bai Yu. They're all personally concocted by Bai Yin during her younger years. As to why this fact wasn't made public, it's due to the tragic event all those years ago that stopped it. Back then, Bai Yin had just come across an old alchemy book in one of the old storage units of the Bai clan. Then through trial and error of her own, the young girl was able to grasp her own way through the ins and out of alchemy and produce those Dan pills. Though inferior in quality for a first attempt, they were still plenty valuable on Earth. Coupling with the fact that the old Bai clan's head was about to celebrate a birthday event soon, she thought it'd be best to wait until that day to offer it as a present. By the way, Mama, you know how Papa doesn't let us go into his study, right? Not long ago I secretly snuck in there and saw a portrait placed along his table. Painting? Is it a painting of Bai Yu? Chai Moon asks with raised eyebrow, but quickly shot the idea down by shaking that head. It's too unlikely in her opinion. For one thing, who still uses a painting when there are plenty of photos around? No, it's not. That painting, it's like a tortoise. No, wait, that's not right either. It has a body like that of a turtle with a snake's tail. And I'm not exactly certain, but the head is similar to that of a dragon's as well. I only took a glance, and I already wanted one. Imagine having such a mighty creature as my pet. Wouldn't that be good? Oh, you. Chai Moon gently pokes her daughter on the forehead as a tease. That painting is just a painting, don't think too much of it. Also, don't go asking your papa lest he be unhappy. No matter how extravagant their lifestyle was right now, it's still taken from someone else, so it's not as stable as others think. After all, she's the one who lured another woman's husband into her own bed, and then gave birth to his child. That fact would never change. What a shame. If only Baiyu left behind some more of those Dan pills. If she did, then Fei Fei's strength would be much higher than she is now. We've already used all of it from the batch we took from Bai Yi. From now on it will only get harder for my child to grow. Upon thinking up to here, Chai Moon would always lament a sigh due to how far they've come. Her only hope doesn't lie with the selfish husband, rather it's her own daughter. As long as the girl grows stronger and become a pillar of the Wen clan, then they wouldn't have to worry about being shoved out the door at any moment. Chai Moon and her daughter 1. When Fei Fei makes a disgruntled face as she attempts to say some more, however, that thought quickly got cut off by the sound of the nearby door being swung open. Your papa is back, don't say any more while he's home. Chai Moon orders, her voice growing stern. The girl maybe have complied by shutting that mouth, but it's obvious the resentment in those haven't receded in the slightest. They're still full of anger, right up to the point where a middle-aged man walked through the doorway and into their view. Papa, you're back. Considering how elated and sweet Fei Fei said it there, one would find it hard to believe the lass could make such a mean face from earlier. The welcoming scene was the very first thing when Sean came home to. A sweet, kind daughter, a gentle and mature wife. The perfect scenario for any successful man who had a family. However, not even this lame duck of a man would be so ignorant as to forget his previous family with Baiyu and Bai Yan. Baiyu was a strong female with a strong personality. Never would she ask him for anything or demand anything. In Chai Moon's case, this second wife was sweet and gentle, the type that makes him want to cuddle her in his arms to kiss and protect. It's also the reason he couldn't control himself and make that blunder all those years ago. The woman stroked his manly ego in so many ways that he couldn't resist. It's been hard on you, when Sean says after remembering how poorly he's treated them both. He's never made any promises to Chai Moon, yet this woman would still stand behind him and not ask for anything. This includes the insults thrown their way. That's how much they endured. And what have he done as a husband and a father? Nothing really, aside from ignoring them and turning a blind eye to the house attendant's behavior. Brother Sean. Chai Moon moves closer to her husband after that comment, her eyes radiating light when speaking. It's nothing, I really didn't suffer much. As long as I have you, and can be together, then I'm willing to bear any bad names coming my way. When Fei Fei clearly thought otherwise and spoke up in protest. Papa, you don't know how much of a money's person Baiyu is. Even if Mama did more here, those attendants and maids would still look down on her. If not for my outstanding talent and growth, I bet they will still hold us in contempt to this day. The ones working for the Wen clan aren't normal civilians. They're all highly skilled martial artists that have grasped onto the edge of being cultivators themselves. Therefore, unless these two showed enough talent to win over their hearts, those attendants and maids would never acknowledge them. Fortunately for Chai Moon though, she herself may not be capable, but her daughter Wen Fei Fei was thanks to those Dan pills they stole from Bai Yi. Through the help of those supplements, the young girl's now recognized as the most talented female in the younger generation of the Wen clan, hence catching the eye of the old clan master, who was Wen Shan's father. Fei Fei, Chai Moon's complexion promptly changed for the worse, and hurried to drag the running-mouthed girl behind herself, sounding timid and careful. Brother Sean, please don't mind Fei Fei's careless words. She didn't mean it, and only wanted to protect me from being hurt. I know. When Sean undoubtedly had a frown on his face after having his first wife talked down upon. But he also understood why and wouldn't take it out on his own daughter. Fei Fei, Baiyu is my deceased wife. According to the relationship we have, you should be calling her your mother too. I know Baiyu's temperament very well. She's not the type to buy people's heart over with money or wealth, nor is she the type to manage the household affairs. If you suffered any wrong, then it's not related to her, okay? Chai Moon and her daughter too. What's more, Baiyu didn't know he had a lover, so how could she do something like buy people's heart? Such acts are below such a woman to the point where it's disdainful. When Sean understood that much. Brother Sean, Is there any news on Yenner's whereabout? Chai Moon asks with pursed lips, her eyes hanging low like she's really worried about the girl. When Sean naturally didn't know it's a mere act, which made him furrow up that forehead without any suspicion. No matter how much of a coward this father was, Bai Yin was still his blood. Of course he wants to bring her home. Unfortunately, since that day where the lass walked out on this home all those years ago, no news ever returned. Forget about locating his daughter. He couldn't even get a wisp of information, due to how remote Bai Yan's training ground was. I believe Yenner is still too sad. That's why she is refusing to talk to us. But don't worry, brother Sean. There's never any feud between family. It's been many years since that incident. I'm sure she will eventually come around. I'm just worried whether or not she will accept me once she knows. Chai Moon makes a bittersweet smile like she's really worried about whether or not things are going to work out. Understanding what his wife meant, when Sean calmly reassures her. Don't worry. Yenner has always been kind-hearted. I'm sure she will learn to accept you considering all things. If Fei Fei doesn't mention Bai Yu anymore, I'm sure she and Fei Fei will get along as well. There's also a warning in there, hoping the two wouldn't mention the pain of the past anymore, lest it makes Bai Yin unhappy. Chai Moon naturally got the underlying meaning there considering how perspective this woman was inside. Not wanting her daughter from poking the hornet's nest due to the discontent, the lady hurries to change the subject. However, right as she's about to do so, a crisp young voice suddenly catches their attention from the outside. This is it. This is where your father and stepmother lives. Do you want me to knock on the door first? Wen Fei Fei was the first to recognize this voice. Immediately, she stood up with clenched fists like an infuriated lioness. Bai Yi, that bitch is back? How dare she return? In comparison to Bai Yen, Wen Fei Fei hated Bai Yi even more. The adopted girl wasn't of the Bai clan's blood. In her view, such an orphan doesn't deserve to have such wealth and high quality of life. Those things belong to her. Without another thought, the spiteful lass promptly got up to the main door and slammed it open, thus startling the individual at the receiving end. Such a reception normally wouldn't cause quite the big fright to anyone at the front door. However, Bai Yi had suffered too much in this home, after Bai Yen left to the point where even a door opening would scare her. Fortunately, she wasn't alone today, she had support. Besides, why should she be afraid? She's justified to come here today. Bai Yi, you pickpocketing thief, how dare you return again? When Fei Fei angrily glares at the other side, her voice forceful and unyielding, flushing red in the eye as tears slowly swelled upwards, Bai Yi attempts to defend herself to no avail. I did not. I really didn't steal anything from the Bai clan, I didn't. Stealing? Bai Yen narrows her eyes in, sensing something fishy had occurred during the time she wasn't around. Chai Moon and her daughter 3. If my guess is correct, Yi's strength being ruined is mostly related to this matter. I need to find out the full story. I can't let this slide. Bai Yen thought, her mind made up to get to the bottom of this. I really didn't steal anything. I only wanted to get Sister Bai Yan's necklace back. You can take anything else, but give that back to me. After a brief silence, Bai Yi blurts this out in her panic. That brought back a wave of old memories for Bai Yen upon hearing that. Indeed, she did leave behind a necklace for Yi prior to her departure. It's something she inherited from her mother Bai Yu, and thought of the item as important for reasons unknown even to herself. However, due to what she was throwing herself into, a long arduous journey of training and growth, Bai Yen figured it's best to leave the necklace behind in case she herself faced some kind of misfortune. At that time, the trinket would be a good memorial item for Yi and their time together. So that's why Yi lost her abilities. This they framed her for being a thief, and then abolished her strength? Tightening her hands into a ball, a gush of anger erupted within Bai Yan's heart. Due to how immersed Wen Fei Fei was at her verbal attack, the lass didn't realize there's a second person around, and continued to sneer in contempt. That is my stepmother's thing, so of course I have to take care of it in my stepsister's place. You are an outsider. How dare you claim to be the owner, and try to steal it away? I'll teach you what it means to be a thief today. By then her hand had already been raised, and rearing to slap down at the other girl. In the heat of the moment, Bai Yi simply stood there as she flinched at the encroaching slap. She's too nervous and afraid to the point where she's unable to react. Yet the expected pain never came. Opening her eyes, she saw something so unexpected that her mouth dropped in surprise. When Fei Fei had flown back out like a bullet, smashing into the redwood table inside the manor. As a result of this impact, the furniture had shattered into 4 fragments. How? When Fei Fei isn't an average person, she's a real martial artist. And I heard her strength have grown tremendously in recent times. How did Sister Bai Yin beat her in a flash? Fei Fei, Chai Moon exclaims in great fright. Hurrying to her daughter's side, this woman frantically helps the girl up as the tears came rolling down after confirming the severity of this fall. Turning to Bai Yin, she protests loudly for all to hear. Miss, aren't you overdoing things? My Fei Fei only said the truth, yet you openly attacked her in such a fashion. This is our family's business, so you have no right to interfere. After saying this, Chai Moon turned to her own husband for support, showering the place with her raining tears to win the man over. Brother Shan, I can tolerate anything you wish of me. I will endure that because I'm your wife. Who told me to fall in love with you first? Loving someone is not wrong. There is no first or last in the matter, but Fei Fei is innocent. She is your own daughter too, so how can you bear to see her being hurt by someone else? When Shan's eyes cooled a little colder at the reminder, turning over to the one responsible. Miss, how do you want to compensate us for hurting my daughter? Bai Yin merely smirked in reply, not saying a word to this stranger in front of herself. After all these years, the once loving and caring father of Earth she knew had long died in those memories of old. The only emotion she has now of this man was anger, a very strange and enlightening anger. Then I like to ask you and Shan, how are you going to compensate us for treating Yi like this? Chai Moon and her daughter for you, taken aback, when Shan gradually wrinkled up his brows as he stared at the lady across from himself. He's lost in a trance after a resurgence of memories swept over his mind. When Bai Yin left, she was only 12 at most, coupling in with the fact that her earthly body had perished as well after that lightning bolt. She's undoubtedly somewhat different in appearance. It's understandable that he couldn't recognize her for a time. However, those eyes though, they're the same cold pair of eyes she used on that day where she vowed to never return. You are Yenna? He asks without confidence. This girl, she grew up to be such a beauty, far better than her own mother's. Bai Yin. Chai Moon's body stiffened up at the name, her tears disappearing like some sort of magic trick. Brother Shan, she is Yenna? She's been gone for 10 years. How did she survive? You're back, Yenna? When Shan ignored Chai Moon's flawed facial expression and flew into a joyous mood. The time he spent with Bai Yin wasn't fake. He really did care for the girl with his heart. It's just that in comparison with his own life and safety, there's nothing more important. That's right, I'm back. I came back not only to avenge my mother, but also to let this fake man understand how stupid he was back then and the stuff he spouted. But as soon as I came back, I was immediately welcomed with the news of my mother having another daughter. And not only that, she's the same age as me? Why didn't I know I have a twin sister? And why does she look so different compared to me? Bai Yan's sarcastic expression couldn't be missed, getting stiff over the comment when Shan awkwardly replies, She's not your mother's daughter. Oh, in that case then she's my stepmother's daughter? Mind telling me who her real father is? No, wait. Aren't you afraid of my mother coming back to strangle you for raising someone else's daughter, and then giving her stuff away to said daughter? Every word coming out of Bai Yan's mouth were stinging, causing the man to wring out in discomfort. How can you talk like that, Yenner? She's Wen Fei Fei. She's mine. She's my biological daughter too. Is that right? Bai Yin presses in with force, her cold demeanor intimidating and unyielding. But I remember my mother died when I was 12, and this girl over there is round my age. Did you go behind my mother's back and cheat on her with that older woman? Yenner, when Shan's face was now getting a little unhappy. Don't speak about her that way. No matter what you think of me, Moon is now your stepmother. Also she suffered a lot as well, and endured a lot of grievances because of my mistake. You returning now is a good thing. We can all be one happy family again. To tell the truth, Wen Shan did have some opinion about this second daughter of his. Wen Fei was raised outside of the Wen clan. Therefore, the last didn't know a lot of manners or rules that was expected of her. However, this cowardly man also knew he had no right to reprimand anyone since Chai Moon remains innocent in this matter. After all, the one who bedded her was him, and the who got her pregnant was also him. Furthermore, this second wife of his never asked for anything at all, only silently supporting him from behind at the very beginning. So what else could he ask of them? Yin or Chai Moon? She is very good, and isn't seeking anything in return by being with me. I once forsaken them for the sake of your mother, yet they never asked for money, and refused my financial support. Did you know? Your stepmother would rather live in a ragged old house than to live in the house I bought for her. You mustn't misunderstand them. Chai Moon and her daughter 5. Wen Shan sighed at that. It's true he hoped Bai Yin would return someday, but it's also true he had hoped for his daughter to accept Chai Moon. For it to turn out this way, and in such conflict, it's undoubtedly leaving him in a bind. So it's my mother's fault that you ignored your secret lover for so many years? Or is it that you delighted in the fact that you had another woman out there, and didn't have to care for them? Getting dark in her smirk, Bai Yin starts becoming a thorn in the man's side with her words. I bet you're thinking both right? Humph. Only a power-hungry man like your father from the Wen clan can produce a scum like you. That's right, only a bad parent could produce such bad offsprings. Otherwise why else would this Wen Shan become like so? It must be due to the teaching of the current Wen clan's head. Yenner. Wen Shan flew into a rage, his eyes full of disbelief over what he's heard. How did my sweet daughter become so aggressive? She's nothing like how I remember her to be. Despite his own emotions, the coward nevertheless sucked it up, knowing the fault lies with himself. Softening up in his tone. I believe you will one day accept her. I believe in my Yenner, the kind and sweet daughter that I know. You don't need to say any more, Brother Shan. It's then Chai Moon spoke up with her fraudulent face of tears again. In the eyes of others, I will always be the family-destroying third party. No matter what I do in this family, it will always be in vain. But I never asked for anything when Bai Yu was still around. She's gone now, and I needed to look out for Fei Fei's future. That's why I came to this family. At this point, Chai Moon's smile had gone sad and remorseful. Now looking back at it, me coming to this place is a mistake. I never asked for anything, but they all keep misunderstanding me. It's good that Yenner is back. Now me and Fei Fei will leave and give way like everyone wants. Mom! When Fei Fei cried out, throwing herself over to cling on to her own mother. You endured so much after so many years just to be here. Just to be by Papa's side. If you leave, then who's going to care for Papa in the future? But I don't want to destroy other people's family. As long as your Papa and sister are happy, then I'm satisfied. Wen Shan may be a coward, but he's no heartless bastard. When he saw how moving this scene was between the pair there, his heart ached in agony like anyone should. It's as if someone was reaching into his heart and twisting it. I'm really too much. What the hell have I been doing all these years? I knew Chai Moon loves me, yet I'm always being neither hot nor cold with her. So what if she's not as good as Bai Yu? She may not have the look or family background, but she loves me. This is enough. Think up to here, when Shan's original softened expression once again sterned up. Yenner, you shouldn't leave anymore now that you are back. Also, you must call Chai Moon your mother from now on. She's been through a lot during these past few years. Do you understand? And your birth mother, she's gone already. When mentioning this fact, the man found it difficult to breathe, like he didn't abandon his own wife in the first place. I want to re-emphasize the point. Chai Moon is not some third party. She is my wife. She will fulfill her motherly duties, so you don't have to worry. Bai Yin couldn't resist a sneer after hearing all that. She never bought their act in the slightest. Rather, it's starting to get amusing, because of how similar these two are to the Bai house from the other world. They're both pretentious, and likes to act before the public. If you're all done acting, then give me back my mother's stuff. I'm going to give you to the count of 3, so don't waste my time. Yenner. When Shan's already wrinkled forehead had turned into a deep furrow. He never expected his good and obedient daughter to turn out so rebellious. 1. Bai Yin announces without any readable emotion. What are you doing, Yenner? 2. 3. Bai Yin wasted no time to move at the last count. In a flash, she bolts into the manor like a lightning bolt, causing a gush of air in her wake, and sending the cowardly man stumbling backwards. Punishment for a thief 1. You, what are you doing? Chai Moon flew into a great fright as she saw the girl charging towards herself. In the momentary lapse of panic, the woman backpedals against the nearest wall without a second thought. Bai Yan's aura was simply too strong and oppressive, similar to Di Tsang's. Hence the reason why this mortal human would react so strongly. It's downright suffocating for those unprepared. Speak, where's my stuff? Stammering in the lip, the pretentious lady nervously answers without any forethought. In my room's cupboard. That's all Bai Yin needed to hear. In a flash, she disappears from view, and onto the second floor of the manor. This sort of speed amazed Chai Moon and her husband. For one thing, it showed how powerful the lady has become, and secondly, how did she know where the room was? Before long, Bai Yin returns to the main entrance with a box in hand. Sister Bai Yin. Bai Yi grew elated at the sight of the familiar object. Did you find everything? Despite what she's holding, Bai Yin did seem all that happy based on how quiet she remained. Indeed, the box in her hand was the very same box she gave Yi before leaving, but the weight didn't add up. It's much lighter than she remembered. When Shan saw what's going on, of course, he could tell the box was exactly the stuff left behind by his deceased wife. But what could he say? After all, the inheritance does belong to Bai Yin, which was the excuse he used to forcefully take it off Yi's hand. Yenner, Papa here know you're angry, but I want to remind you only me and Chai Moon is your family. No matter what, Bai Yi is only an outsider. If you put too much faith in her, then you're bound to pay the price later. Those words came down like a waterfall across Yi's heart. It dampened her elated heart, and even hurt it, which could be noticed by how her hands had grasped onto those sleeves in a pained manner. He's not wrong, I'm just an outsider like he says. An outsider adopted by Shifu, while no one else wanted me. My family, when did you get to dictate who my loved ones are? Bai Yin didn't want to play along anymore, and openly sneered in contempt at her former father. On this earth, there is only one family I have, and that is Yi here. Forget this, Chai Moon. I don't even consider you related to me. None of you are important to me. Unbeknownst to the group here, there's something else she didn't say outwardly. It's true in her previous life when Shan was her biological father. There's no question about that. However, she's no longer of this world anymore. She died several years ago already. That means the only blood-related relative she had left in this world was the ones from the other side. And Bai Yi, whom she considered her own sister, due to the bond they shared. When Shan was finally outraged by Bai Yan's attitude to the point he stopped calling her daughter. There's fire burning in those eyes now. It's been 10 years. Even if have any grievances, it should be extinguished by now. I know what you are thinking. But if I had gone out that day to save your mother, then the Wen clan might have been destroyed as well. It's not like you don't know who was backing the other two clans. Bai Yin didn't answer, only darkening in her expression as she went through the contents of the box. Regardless of how big of a backing those two clans had, they will be destroyed now that I'm back. But before then, I will drag out the force behind them and crush that power first. I will make sure they all pay dearly for what they've done. My mother left me a set of jewelries. There's a piece missing. The emerald jade is supposed to be worth millions, and a dowry for when I marry. Of course, these are all material things, so I can settle it at a later date. Upon saying this, after ignoring the cowardly man's gaze, Bai Yin instead turns to Chai Moon, who appeared visibly guilty. I want to know what happened to the Dan pills I left behind? Where is the pills I left for Yi? Punishment for a thief too. What are you talking about? Chai Moon's body shuddered at the accusation. She's very much afraid and tries to hide it with that forced smile. I really don't understand what you mean. What pill? I don't know. Not buying it at all. Bai Yin snickers a laugh in retort. Those damn pills were refined by me, so don't try to play me. I originally wanted to give it to my grandfather as a surprise birthday gift back then. But that didn't happen because of what transpired with the Bai clan. I worried for Yi's well-being, so I left it all to her after I left. Alchemic Dan pills are good stuff all around. But if one's too greedy and consumes too much at once, then the effects would undoubtedly come back to bite one in the ass by making them have an unstable foundation. This important bit was obviously related to Bai Yi prior to Bai Yan's departure back then. Therefore, she's not worried about her foster sister consuming all the pills at once. Furthermore, she could clearly tell how unstable Wen Fei Fei's strength was in her earlier attack, thus reaffirming her suspicion. Brother Shan. Chai Moon didn't confront the girl, and instead turns to her own husband for help using that tearful face. I only wanted to do what's right as Yenner's stepmother by keeping her things safe. I didn't think I would be taken as a thief. The woman's act was truly award-winning. As she cried to play her role, Chai Moon actually evolved into a sad sobbing laugh like someone that's spelling their emotions from the heart. If I really wanted to connive after riches, then I would have taken your money back then. Why did I not take a cent? I would rather raise Fei Fei on my own than to take others' money. You have to believe me, Brother Shan. I've been with you for so long. How could I have kept something so valuable hidden from your eyes? I know Yenner blames me for being with you. I know it. And I'm willing to leave if she wishes of me. But I can't accept being called a thief after trying so hard to do the right thing. After spouting all that, Chai Moon immediately began to head towards the doorway to leave with her daughter in tow. Her pace was firm and unquestionable based on how decisive they were. As a result of this picture, Wen Shan the coward promptly got all guilt in the face for being so indecisive. Wait, Mooner, the ones who need to go isn't you or our daughter. Cold in his voice, the man speaks with a stern voice like he's made up his mind. Halting in her steps right after the sentence, Chai Moon swings around like a hopeful woman, waiting for her man to whisk herself off the ground, like a princess being taken by a prince. Yenner, when Shan puts on a disappointed face at his own daughter. I don't know why you are so adamant about accepting them, but I must tell you your stepmother is not what you think. Back in the beginning, after I made the mistake, I immediately wanted to make it up to her by offering $2 million as compensation. Yet do you know, she refused the money. What's more, how could I not be aware of your ability in alchemy back then? I would have surely known if that's the case, but I didn't. Even if you want to frame her, you should at the very least find a better excuse. I'm very disappointed in you. Those words were coming straight from the man's heart. He's honestly unable to comprehend why Bai Yin would turn out so vicious in his view, compared to the lovely and well-behaved daughter from his memory. Who exactly taught her into this after 10 years away from home? Bai Yin coldly glared back at this coward. You better keep your mouth shut in front of me, or else, I don't mind removing you. This time she's not kidding. She really would remove him from the picture if he doesn't close that mouth of his. However, the threat only made Wen Shan even more furious. Wen Yin, I'm your father. How dare you talk to me like that? Punishment for a thief 3. First, my name is Bai Yin. Secondly, in my mind, my father is already dead, and you are just strangers to me. If you bother me again, then I really don't mind removing someone like you from my view. Yeah, shut up. This time Wen Shan really shuts up for no other reason aside from the immense killing intent coming off of the other girl. He's not mistaken. If he does spout another word, Bai Yin would kill him on the spot without another thought. Her strength, has it grown so strong that it made me terrified of her? Wen Shan shuddered at the thought, and stumbles back a few steps in retreat. When it came to his own life, there's nothing more important. What's more, this lady in front of himself was no longer that delicate young daughter of his anymore from 10 years ago. She's a stone-cold killer that's going to slay anyone that gets in her way. When Fei Fei did not notice the strange atmosphere here though between her own father and stepsister, she's too dense and elated to care. She actually said, she wants to kill Papa? Is this Bai Yin stupid? How could she have said something like that? It's the same as cutting off any ties and right to inherit the wealth of this family. From now on there will only be me here, who is the miss of the house. However, right as the attention got shifted to herself from her stepsister for unknown reasons, when Fei Fei promptly retracted that eager joy in those eyes to make a face of anger in retaliation. Bai Yan, you are too outrageous and rebellious. He is your papa, yet you're saying you will kill him? A daughter should be filial in piety, listen to every word from their parents. How can you be so unruly? Her tone seems to be looking out for Wen Shan, but it's also a message directed at the coward who didn't speak up. It's to say only she deserves to be the miss of this family. Bai Yan could care less about what the other side thought. Instead she shifts her tone into a mild voice while speaking. Tell me, who is the one that crippled your strength? The foster sister bites that lip in grievance. It's when Fei Fei, she broke my dantian core, so I can no longer practice. Breaking a dantian as a mean of punishing thieves? I'm rather of agreement for such means in punishing a thief. That said, Bai Yan now locks onto Wen Fei Fei like a hawk seeing its prey. Then what should I do to punish you since you stole my things? You're spouting nonsense, I didn't steal it. Wen Fei Fei sounded angry, but it's only a ruse to hide what she really thought. As long as I refuse to admit it, then what else can she do? Not like there's any evidence to point to me, right? Bai Yan sneered at that. Did he not tell you that one can't overtake the Dan pills in a short period? Your foundation is weak and unstable, sometimes to the point where you can't even train anymore. That's all because of your misuse of those pills. When Fei Fei's complexion instantly got deathly pale at the news, she had a look of horror and panic plastered all over that face. How did she know? Fei Fei, Chai Moon cries out, afraid her daughter would expose themselves. She is trying to scare you. Don't you know your own physical condition? Coming back to her senses at the reminder, the pale-faced girl clenches her teeth and pushes through. When did my foundation get unstable? I'm very good, so don't try to bluff me. I don't have any of those Dan pills. After saying this, when Fei Fei then turns to her own father for help using those red teary eyes. Papa, she hates me, I know it. If she wants me to go then I can leave, but I refuse to be framed as a thief when I never stole anything. Bang! Bai Yan could care less what her stepsister was trying to pull here. Without another thought or delay, she directly throws a kick against the girl's chest and sends her shooting out once again to the ground. I will have you spill those Dan pills back out sooner or later. It's just a matter of time. However, the debt with Yi's injury is still unresolved. Smirking in a sinister fashion, her expression was frightening and dark as she leaned downwards like an evil demigod. You can quit hoping for Wen Shan to save you as well. I said it already. If he gets in my way then, I won't mind removing him from the picture entirely. The young lord's child won. Wen Shan just stared at Bai Yan in amazement. It's only now does it occur to him how foolish he's been up until this point. What gentle and kind daughter returning to his side. That's all in the past, and would never return after all the trauma he put her through. No. Chai Moon throws herself in between with her arms spread. Fei Fei is innocent. She's only doing this for your sake. But that's all this woman could get through. Before she realizes it, a hand had already reached over and grabbed her by the throat into a choking hold, nearly suffocating the lady in the process. There's no other way to describe this aside from Bai Yan being very irritated by the fakeness portrayed by this lady. Without any hesitation, she slams her down onto the ground as well, and onto Wen Fei Fei's body to make a ball of them both. Leaning down again to her stepsister, but even closer so that others couldn't hear what she's saying aside from the recipient. I'm always of the opinion one should always receive the proper punishment, but I don't believe abolishing one's strength is the right course of action in this case. Despite those words, Wen Fei Fei's heart only grew more tense and thumped even harder. No, I think it's better to make you abolish your own strength using your own hands. That way you will know what despair means. This sentence hits the girl like a thunderclap, thus sending Wen Fei Fei's eardrum into a ringing pain of horror. No matter how she imagines it, the lass here simply couldn't fathom what possible punishment could warrant someone into ruining their own life. But in reality, She didn't need to imagine. The answer was right around the corner, as Bai Yin forcibly stuffed a round beady pill into her mouth. Yoi, what did you feed me? She stammers this with fear hovering in those eyes. Don't worry, it's not poison if you're thinking that. In fact, it will help enhance your strength and help you grow faster. Upon hearing this, Wen Feifei's eyes grew even more shocked. How can it be? Why would this woman be so kind? It's just that Bai Yan's next words completely crushed her soul from the high point. But this medicine will make your body feel immeasurable pain at the early afternoon. Alright, have you heard of the painful torture of being grinded by a wheel in hell? I bet the sensation would be similar to that. Grinning even harder now, Bai Yan's face appeared no different from a devil right now to her stepsister. Also, the stronger you become, the more intense the effects will have on your suffering. Unless you destroy your own dantian, the effects will never dissipate. Oh, by the way, there's no cure for this medicine. A chilling shudder filled Wen Feifei's heart then. What did I do to deserve this from her? Why is she doing this to me? All I did was cripple Bai Yi's strength. Why is she reacting so strongly for an outsider? I'm her real stepsister. You can choose to tell Wen Shan about it too. But I can tell you he won't do a damn thing to help you. In addition, if the Wen clan learns of your predicament, what do you think they will do to you? Someone that is no longer of use to them? Probably abandon you, am I right? Wen Feifei couldn't deny her stepsister's prediction. Unlike those happy families out there, the Wen clan places a very strong emphasis on the talented. For those who couldn't perform, they're promptly shoved to the curb, which was exactly what occurred prior to her using those Dan pills they took from Bai Yi. The young lord's child too. I won't believe you. After a long period of silence, Wen Feifei's only response was to shout this aloud. Bai Yin expected such a reply though, so she didn't mind. Still grinning in a sinister fashion. You can go ahead and try later. There's no need for me to persuade you. See, the pain at the stroke of noon will prove whether or not I'm lying. After saying that last bit, Bai Yin was done here and slowly headed for the exit. What did you feed my Feifei? Chai Moon saw how the woman's about to leave, so she hurried to cry out for an answer. She didn't hear the conversation due to how quiet it was, but she did see the black beady pill that was forced into her own daughter's mouth. Swinging her head to one side to show that sarcastic grin. I fed her what she needed to eat. If you want the details, then you can ask her yourself. Lastly, I'm going to be sticking around for the next few days, so don't come bother me. I won't be so kind like today if they disturb me. We're leaving. As for the remaining debt owed to her by Chai Moon and her daughter, Bai Yin had every intention to take it all back and more. But that would come later after she's done with her other business. Oh, coming back to her senses, Bai Yi quickly gave chase from behind. 10 years. It took 10 years for her older sister to return. There's no way the lass would fall behind again. Through all of this, the humiliation and punishment for his family, Wen Shan never uttered a single word in protest. He's too much of a coward, especially before the woman's incredible level of killing intent. Therefore, the man kept to himself there like he's invisible. It's a sad reality for those involved, but compared to his own life, there's nothing more important for this Wen Shan. Chai Moon also knew this, of course. Otherwise, why else would she not try to force the man to take her back then? However, experiencing the cruel reality of her husband being a coward still hurts. Any woman would be disappointed, she being no exception. What am I thinking? I always knew Wen Shan's character. He only cares about his own well-being, and no one else. Outside the manor, the woman in front abruptly came to a halt, and causes the one from the rear to bump into her back like a deer that's lost its way. Sister Bai Yin, what's wrong? Turning around, Bai Yin softens up in her voice to say something that she's been holding back. I have something I need to tell you. What is it? Didn't understand, so she got a confused look all over that face. I won't be able to stay here for long, and when I'm done, I will probably need to leave. Still not getting it, Bai Yi simply smiled to say the obvious thing. That's okay. I will go with you. I have no relative here, I only have you. In the past, her life only had Bai Yu and Bai Yen as her family. With the former passing away, there's only this older sister of hers left. I'm sorry, Yi, that place. I fear you might not be able to go. To be clear, Bai Yin specifically used the word might, because even she doesn't know if it's possible bring her foster sister along. It's not like she doesn't want to, she honestly do. But unlike coming back to Earth with the help of the amulet in her possession, there's no tried and true method of bringing someone of this world over to the next. The smile on Yi's face disappeared, replaced promptly by the look of disappointment and sadness. Sister Bai Yin, are you going to leave me behind again? I'm very good, I can do anything like laundry, cooking, and cleaning. The young lord's child 3. Yi, listen to me. Bai Yin grasps onto her foster sister's shoulder so she would listen. The place I need to go is in another world. It's where I've been all this time. And that place, it's not somewhere one can just travel to at a whim. It's not that she wants to leave the girl behind. It's that she doesn't know if she's able to take her along. What point would there be in giving false hope? That would only cause more damage and hurt later on. Only then does Bai Yi's happy gaze let up, her lips pursing into a thin line. Then Sister Bai Yin, do you have other relatives over on that side? Bai Yin slowly nods to answer. Yes, a lot over there. That's a relief then. Are they good to you? Though still sad in the face, Bai Yi continues to ask. They all love me. A nod comes again. That's good, I'm relieved then. As if trying to keep herself from crying, Bai Yi puts on the most difficult smile of her life. I was always worried that you would be alone without me. Back when we were young, you didn't know how to care for yourself at all. There were attendants to help back when we were living with Shifu, but afterwards it was I who did everything afterwards. Like fixing the bed, cooking, cleaning and stuff. Now that I know someone else can look after you, I'm relieved. Bai Yin immediately got all sweaty in the forehead, after having all her flaws pointed out. True, her foster sister was smaller than herself, but she's heck a lot more mature in more than one way. I of course want to take you with me if possible. Hurrying to change the subject, the conversation was leading into a hole that she didn't want to head down into. You know, I have a friend over on that side that's the polar opposite of your personality. You know how to do everything. She, on the other hand, doesn't know how to do anything, constantly making trouble in her wake. A real troublemaker. When mentioning Chu Yi again of the Holy Land, the lady's lip would inexplicably form a smile like some happy memories would return. I wonder if that lass is doing well. I haven't seen her for a long while now. But her name is the same as yours though. She's Chu Yi and you're Bai Yi. Only a difference in your surname. If I can't take you with me to the other side, then I will make sure you have a good life on Earth. I won't let the same mistake happen again after I leave. This opportunity to return was a good chance to set things right. Not only does Bai Yin intend to find the missing item she needs, she's also going to rid Yi of all her enemies. Bai Yi could see her older sister's happy expression. As a result of this, a sense of sorrow hit her poor heart in a way that it throbbed. If only I could go there together with her. Sister Bai Yin, it's then does the lass remember something important? Is it wise to have a fallout with Winshan? What's wrong with that? Bai Yin sneered in contempt at the mentioned name. You're my people, he's not. You're my people, he's not? This sentence instantly brought a ray of sunshine to the depressed girl's mood. Looking up with hope in those eyes, she murmurs the only thing that she could. Sister Bai Yin said I am her people. It feels so nice to be recognized. Feeling much better now, Bai Yi's next thought wasn't about the future anymore, but about something more pressing at the moment. Sister Bai Yin, where are we going to stay now? Stay in a hotel, of course. A hotel? But those are expensive. Counting her finger, the young lass immediately started to go over her earnings from handing out those flyers. As for the wealth retrieved today, that's not in her consideration. It's not like Bai Yi was homeless or anything. She also has a place to stay. However, there's no way she would let her older sister stay in that basement unit she rented. That's not even within the equation. It's all right, don't worry about. Reaching over to grab the other girl's hand, Bai Yin makes a reassuring smile so her foster sister wouldn't fret. I got a lot of money on me, so don't mind the expenses. The young lord's child for. She extorted so much money from Ling Lang. It's only natural that she spends it. Not like Bai Yan could take it back to the other side and use it, right? The manors of the four clans are all within one area. Therefore the news of Bai Yan's return had also spread at a whirlwind speed. Ignoring the Lin clan who came after the demise of the Bai clan, both the Tian clan and Fu clan would undoubtedly be startled by the news. This was especially true when word spread of Wen Shan being walked all over by his own daughter. It's a well-known fact on how much of a coward this bastard was. After all, he didn't lift a finger after his wife got murdered by them. This meant that unless Bai Yan's strength had surpassed her old man, what transpired wouldn't be possible. This girl's been missing for 10 years, and now she's back, and for 10 years, we haven't heard from her at all. Tian Wind of the Tian clan frowns as he spoke, his finger drumming the table as he contemplated the issue. Sitting in front of him was another individual, a middle-aged beauty with a body worthy of being called a model. As she carefully poured a cup of tea for the man across from herself, her soft smiling face showed she didn't seem worried. It's nothing to be worried about just because her strength is higher than Wen Shan's. There's still the current head of the Wen clan taking charge. Besides, even if the Wen clan fears her, our Tian clan isn't. However, squinting her eyes, the beauty curves those lips into a snarling sneer. Nipping the flower in the bud is the smarter option. Her talent is not bad, so we can't let her continue to grow. Bai Yu's apprentice is already a cripple, so that's not a threat. As for Ling Kaiyuan's daughter-in-law, Bai Yan's aunt, it's nothing to fret either. That old general may be a founding member of the nation, but he's not going to mobilize the military just for one clan. That's unreasonable and unrealistic. Others in the government will definitely stop him before then. There's actually good reasoning behind this lady's logic. Unlike in the other world where one's personal power reigns supreme, on Earth it's about a country's strength. What does it matter if a family clan had a lot of influence and abilities? A few missile rockets and a nuke would do the trick right then and there. They're martial arts cultivators, not celestial or demonic cultivators like Bai Yan has become. There's a big difference between a mortal and an immortal. You snowing. Tian Wind warmly reaches out to take hold of the woman's hand. Your older brother. Doesn't he have that person's trust? Do you think we can find a way to get our daughter closer to the young lord? Snowing's expression promptly changed for the worse at the mention. I don't know. Since a few years ago where the young lord fell ill, he's had a major change in temperament. Besides, I've heard the young lord now has a child he made with an unknown woman from the outside. The idea won't turn out well. The four family clans are all subservient to the Water clan, all for the one very single reason. There's a special existence inside that house. Unlike the other inferior clans that could come and go with time, the Water clan has been around for hundreds of years, each generation producing countless talents in its wake. However, that's not enough to secure their position as the head. Rather, it's because there's a sacred beast under their control. The creature's able to control the water, thus making them the de facto ruler of the martial world. Imagine having a tsunami hit you from out of the blue, or a raging hurricane that wouldn't recede. No normal person could withstand such a might. Water clan's young lord 1. Snowing. What's the big deal about a man having a few lovers outside? Which successful man doesn't have a few with them? Moreover, the young lord is not married and only has a son. That means the child's birth mother isn't fit to take center stage. The woman couldn't refute the idea, tempted her swaying heart as well, speaking in a hesitant tone. Let's ask our daughter's opinion first. She hasn't even married yet, and is now going to be someone's stepmother. I just find the idea difficult to accept. No matter how much she liked the thought of being the mother-in-law of the most powerful man in the Water clan, she's still a mother. As a mother, she undoubtedly wants the best for her own daughter. Tian Wind didn't say it aloud, but his thoughts weren't the same as his own wife, who showed what she was thinking along the face. Snowing is thinking too much. Being the wife of the young lord? That's not possible. Perhaps a lover for him is more likely. After their conversation, Snowing soon left the tea room and arrived at her own daughter Tian Fragrance's room. Her hand hesitated when attempting to make a knock, but the hesitation couldn't hold out against the temptation still. A moment later, the door swung open, and out came a girl with dreary eyes wearing a cartoon t-shirt. "Mom, do you need something? Why are you coming so late?" For this only daughter of hers, Snowing's attitude only had warmth and kindness. "Fragrance, I came because I have something I want to discuss with you. Let me inside first." Doing as told, Fragrance moves to one side to let Snowing in, but kept her confused look up the entire way. "Mom, what is so urgent that you can't wait till morning? Sit down first," patting the chair so her daughter would sit with her. "You know your uncle is the steward of the Water Clan, don't you? What if I say me and your papa can help you get close to the young lord?" When speaking up to this part, Snowing's voice grew hesitant and paused for a breather, because she knew her daughter's temperament the best. Regarding something like arranged marriages, there's no way this daughter would be willing and happy. "What?" Fragrance's voice nearly shrieked at the suggestion, jumping up and stomping her feet in protest. "You want me to marry that sick mule from the Water Clan?" Going white in the face after her daughter's outburst, Snowing immediately jumped up to cuss the careless girl's mouth, so she would stop talking. "Don't speak like that. You know how our Tian clan is heavily relying on the Water Clan. If anyone hears of what you said, then not even your uncle can save us." "I'm not making up stuff. Everyone knows how sick that person is. After he fell into a coma 8 years ago, the guy had a huge change in his temperament and would lash out at everyone. And it's not like you don't know either, Mom. No one has seen him step out of the Water Clan's estate. Why would you want me to marry someone that's terminally ill? I don't want to be a widow right away." Unlike her parents, Tian Fragrance wants to pursue happiness in her life like any young lady of her age. Marrying a sickly boy that's perhaps at the death's gate, who would want to? "Sweetie," Snowing sighs at the answer, "we aren't certain on the young lord's condition. That's only a rumor. How about you make the decision after meeting the young man first?" Truth was, despite her older brother being the steward of the Water Clan, no one really knows the real health of the young lord mentioned here. Sure, the members of that family may know, but none would be stupid enough to spread it out into the public, especially after the supposed temperamental change after coming out of the coma. Water Clan's young lord too. "I don't want to see him, Mom. I don't want to see him." After shouting this out, Tian Fragrance's eyes immediately flickered with an idea. Hooking her arm around the other ladies, she forces her inner anger down to play her game. "I know so many young talented men in the city. Why should I go with a sick mule that's about to kick the bucket? What if he decides to force me and not let go after being captivated by me? Just having the thought of being forced into bed with someone she doesn't like would gross the lass out," which showed along her young face. "Mom, you know my personality better than anyone. If that young lord from the Water Clan tries to force me, then I would rather die with him than submit. In that case, what do you think will happen to our family when the Water Clan comes down with their fury? See, it won't turn out well, not well at all. Moreover, as the young miss of the Tian clan, what men she couldn't get? She's got all those wealthy and talented men of this city's upper society swirling around her finger. Why should she lower herself to being a sick mule's wife? It's not like the Water Clan only has that sick mule in its younger generation. If I'm going to marry into that clan, then I'm going to take a healthy and powerful one. Afterwards I can pull some strings, and then push my future husband into the lead position. I bet that sick mule won't live long anyways." Snowing's lips stammered for proper wording there. She couldn't find a good excuse to persuade her daughter, because what the last said was all true and reasonable. "Fine, sweetie. I was only asking and not forcing you. If you aren't willing, then we can put the idea behind us. I'm sure you will find an outstanding husband in the future on your own." After saying this, the lady of the house got up and walked out of the room to deal with her own husband. The Water Clan's main estate, currently 2 individuals, one small and one big, were staring off against each other. Eventually it was the older one who caved in and took the lead to turn away. "You've been staring at me for 2 days. Have you seen enough yet?" The older man speaks, his voice getting a little bothered. "Batty father, Will mother be able to recognize you now that you've become like this? The steam bun across from him says, his eyes still staring wildly in amazement. Twitching in the mouth at being called out, the older man shoots a deadening glare at his own son. What do you know? I believe in her. She will recognize me at a glance no matter what. Their feelings have long passed the physical level and into the soul stage. It's unmatched. But Batty Father, why did me and mother can come directly into this place, while you have to use another person's body? I'm so confused. Scratching the back of his head, the steam bun wrinkles his nose like a confused child. That's right. The older man across from Bai Xiachen was none other than Di Tsang. The only issue was that it's his soul and not the body. If anything, the only evidence proving it's the great demon king would be that arrogant aura. It's unmistakable. That's because I didn't have all heaven to send me over here like you did. I had to ask state teacher to help me transfer my soul over to this dead body we found. Also, I came here 8 years earlier. 8 years ago, the Water Clan's young lord didn't fall seriously ill, rather he did kick the bucket and died. Water Clan's young lord 3. That's right, he's been here for 8 years already. Due to the differing time frame of both worlds, Di Tsang purposely arrived earlier than his family, so that he could locate Bai Yin ahead of time. But 8 years, how could he not go see her? Therefore, for the past 8 years he's been telling the world that he's sick, while in reality he's been running off to stalk his oblivious wife in secret. Sadly, at the time Bai Yin still hasn't arrived at the other world yet. That meant he couldn't face the old her from Earth. Knowing how much his wife cared for the family members on that side, this poor demon king could only live a life of a monk devoid of impulses. Imagine watching the love of his life, bearing all those dangerous adventurers? Imagine watching the lady go through all those trials on her own? And most importantly, imagine watching his wife go naked to bath in the local lake? Now that's just pure torture, extremely painful and torturous for any man. Nevertheless, he's put up with it, 8 years of it in total. That was until after Bai Yin got struck down by the lightning bolt like fate intended. No one knows how much he wanted to rush over to save her that day. But Di Tsang also understood his wife would never forgive him if he did otherwise. History would change, the future of their children would change. There wouldn't be Bai Xiachen, nor Di Lingyan and Di Jintian. None of their children would exist for that blunder. So he stopped at the last second when his feet tried to move. For 3 days this man did not move from that spot. He buried her of course, but he couldn't leave right away. Di Tsang was bleeding inside. Sure, his wife suffered as well for the death she went through, but his heart bled just as much in the spiritual sense. In the end, it took all his willpower just to budge from the mountain. What came afterwards could be summed up like most would expect. He returned to the Water Clan and began preparations for the return of his wife. Although he doesn't know when exactly, but that didn't hinder his will to welcome his woman's return. Thankfully the poor guy didn't need to wait long either, when he came across his son Bai Xiachen, by pure coincidence. Batty Father, fortunately you didn't stop mother from leaving at the end. The steam bun happily stuffs a grape into his mouth, his eyes revealing delight at the sweetness. There's no warmth in this world for mother, but the other side is not the same, she got family there. If she had come to learn you took that from her in the future, then she will undoubtedly be very angry at you. The man could only shake his head helplessly, due to his son's uncharacteristic mature speech. Xiachen, we will go find your mother in 2 days. 8 years of patience have finally come to an end. When he gets his grubby hands on her, he would make sure to have his way of embracing that woman to his heart's content. And if possible, spend several nights of love making to satiate his near-bursting hormones. Why 2 days later? Batty Father, don't you want to see mother? Why wait? Bai Xiachen asks again with a look of bafflement. If it was me I would go right now. I don't even know how Batty Father could endure for 8 straight years. If it was me, I would be crying in pain already. I've received word from state teacher earlier. That's why I need 2 days to accomplish the task. 2 days is enough. Then I'll take you to your mother. He really wants to see his wife, but in order to return to the demon realm as soon as possible, Di Tsang must finish another thing beforehand. He's waited 8 years already. Another 2 days won't delay much. I don't want to. Bai Xiachen puckers his lips into a displeased shape. I want to see mother. I'm going to find her first on my own. Those bad women all envy her. They will definitely try to pick on her. Water Clan's young lord 4. Ditsong doesn't believe his wife would be picked on by others considering her personality. However, that doesn't mean he's going to tolerate such an act against his own woman either. You're not familiar with this place yet, nor are you capable of finding your mother on your own. Let's do this. I'll order someone take you to her if you want to go ahead. It's not like the Demon King did nothing during the past 8 years that he's been here. Regarding Bai Yan's identity and history, he's learned it all and knew how wrong she's been at the hands of those people who ruined her family and killed her mother's side of the family. In addition, Ditsong's gaze grew solemn and heavy. You must get a better understanding of your mother's situation. I will give you the information I gathered beforehand. Whether or not you can help your mother get revenge is up to you. I don't want my wife dirtying her hands with their filthy blood. Bai Xiachen immediately jumps up in glee, his small face glowing with excitement. Papa, you mean I can go find mother ahead of you? Ditsong crooked smiles to affirm the question, due to not being addressed with that silly nickname from his son. Your mother is probably looking for you as well, so you go ahead. I can't be at ease unless someone is with her. He knows how much hate Bai Yin has for Winshan. Even until the day where she died under that lightning strike, she remains firmly under the idea of wanting to make the man regret the act of abandoning Bai Yu. Therefore, Ditsong doesn't want anything to happen while he's not with her. Now here's where Bai Xiachen comes into play. He may not be able to go right away, but this rascal could, and it's someone he trusts. That's awesome. Bai Xiachen jumps up and down like a baby again. The doggy I met before is quite good. Why don't you have him take me to mother? Ditsong. Are you sure you want a dog to take you on a plane? He's not a demon beast. Ditsong eventually throws this out, after a long moment of awkward silence. If the dog can take human form then it's one thing. But he's a dog, a genuine dog and no more. That cat can do it too. I think that fat orange cat is quite nice, have him take me. This rascal, can he be a bit more normal? Besides, what does being fat have to do with helping you find someone? Ditsong thought, unable to comprehend why his boy would suggest a dog, and a cat in this case. I'll find someone to take you. During this trip you must behave. If I find out you aren't, and is acting up, I will have them take you back without a second thought. The stern voice of the Demon King meant he's serious, and would really do that if the boy made trouble like he always did in the other world. Despite the pouting face, Bai Xiachen did not talk back, a rare occasion for this parent and son relationship. So be it, a human it is. Although I still think this Water Clan only has that doggy and fat cat as the cutest. As for the others, thinking of those people, Bai Xiachen's eyes would darken into a displeased shape. Batty father, you've been here for 8 years, why didn't you form your own power? I don't like the people here in this Water Clan. He did it back when he was searching for mother the first time around. Why didn't he do it again in this other world? Ditsong. These 8 years, this persistent Demon King has been busy following his wife around. Where would he find the time to go organize a new power on Earth? In light of that though, he did take in some stray animals like that dog and fat cat. They're not demons or demonic creatures, but they're still animals and instinctively attracted to the man. Xiachen, do you think I would need some kind of power in this place? Ditsong says it proudly and arrogantly like the very idea was a joke. If someone does dare to challenge me, I will have Black Turtle go deal with them. Those people are not qualified for him to personally maneuver against them. My son won't suffer any grievances. 1. Sure enough, Bai Xiachen became stumped for words at that sort of an answer. True, considering his old man's status and power. Why should he deal with those people from the Water Clan? Simply having Black Turtle order them would be more than sufficient. Papa, how did Black Turtle know about you coming here anyways? Also, how did he know you needed a body to use, and arranged the Water Clan's young lord for you from the beginning? Biting his fingernail, The boy questioningly asks with a look of confusion. Donning a dazzling smirk, Song's reply left his son astounded. I don't know. I don't know. Only a fool would believe that. Huffing and puffing, Xiachen didn't buy a single word of it. As curious as he was right now, the boy knew he won't get an answer from his old man. If anything, he could always turn to state teacher for an answer. After all, that guy always seemed to have the answer to everything. Why are you being so nosy for? Didn't you want to go find your mother? Giving his son's head a rub to shoo him along. Then you can go now. Remember, if someone disrespects you, then put them in their place. My son will suffer under no one. Giggling with laughter, the steam bun didn't need his old man to tell him that. Papa, as if you need to tell me that. I have never been one to swallow any grievances. From the time he's been born, to the current day, this rascal has never eaten any grievances, not even once. Then go, I'll have things arranged for you. After saying that, Song's gaze inexplicably shifted to the exit, and into the far-off unknown. It's as if he's looking at others that's not within his view, yet within his senses. If these people in the Water Clan obey, and listen, then I can let them be. But if they get restless and try anything, I won't mind letting them fall from their current heights once and for all. Goodbye then, baddie father. Waving his hand, the rascal didn't hesitate, and quickly ran for the door. His demeanor told everyone that he couldn't wait to leave this place. Meanwhile in the back, Song's face had gone all black again. This brat, does he hate spending time with his own father that much? And why is he using that nickname again? Unaware of the woes plaguing his old man, Xiachen only had the happy thought of reuniting with Bai Yan in his mind. Nevertheless, that doesn't mean his absent-mindedness meant his senses for the surroundings were hindered in any way, because he's quickly able to dodge to one side when a hand tried to push him after leaving the courtyard. The perpetrator of the act belonged to a child of about 10 years old. Considering the number of lackeys following this kid, it's obvious he's someone of important status in this Water Clan. Even so, that doesn't the steam bun would take this hostility lying down, which manifested into him pinching the other kid's wrist until a crunching sound could be heard due to the pressure. Ah! The kid wept like a screeching banshee due to the pain, causing the lackeys behind him to freak out as well. Sadly for them though, right as they tried to move forward to help, Xiachen's threatening glare stopped them in their tracks. Lin Lin! Suddenly, an urgent call came from further ahead. Turning to look for the source, Xiachen could see a beautiful woman running over in haste. Let go of my Lin Lin now. The lady orders, her eyes bordering on the line of tears, due to the pained expression of her son. Smirking at the demand, the steam bun starts going back to his old way of acting innocent. Why should I let him go when he tried to push me? Is this how members of the Water Clan act, such unruliness? My son won't suffer any grievances too. You. The beauty angrily points her finger at Xiachen in an accusatory manner. However, her rage promptly subsided a notch after remembering who she's dealing with. Xiachen, this is your cousin, he did not mean it, so can you let him go? Tilting his head at the plea like he's in contemplation over the idea, Xiachen didn't let go though, and instead bared his white teeth like a predator facing its prey. No. Mom, help me, hurry and help me. Water Lin Lin continues to cry out in pain, as his wrist grew more purple over the pressure. This wild bastard came from some unknown woman. How dare he come to the Water Clan to leech off of us? Hit him for me, hurry and hit him for me. That's right. The main reason this brat going by the name of Water Lin Lin tried to push Xiachen was because he's upset and jealous of the attention being shifted away from himself. Coupling in with the negative feedbacks from his own parents in secret, plus the reminder from his own grandparents to be at heed with this new cousin, the boy's heart grew twisted and irate. That's why he came today. It's to deliberately stomp on Xiachen to flaunt his status. Well, that was the plan anyways. The beauty's face got very pale after her son's outburst. There's open panic in her eyes, because that kind stuff could only be said in the shadows. Not in open public like here before the house attendants. Make no mistake, this beautiful madam of this house may hold a high position within the Water clan. But not even she would try to poke fun into Deetsong's business, due to how famously cruel and cold the man has become after that incident from 8 years ago. Close your mouth this instant, Lin Lin. The woman snaps at her son, those teeth grinding due to the tense thumping in her heart. Xiaochen, this is nothing but a little fight between children. Why are you taking things so seriously? Moreover, Lin Lin here didn't mean what he said, he really didn't. Snickering in contempt at the obvious lie, the steambun didn't believe a single word of it. He insulted me by calling me a wild bastard. After saying that, he immediately increased the pressure on his grip some more, causing the other boy to squeal out again. So, I want him to apologize to me, and to scold himself by saying he's a bastard child for 100 times. I want that done this instant, right here and now as compensation. The beauty's face got even whiter. Have my son apologize and claim to be a wild bastard? And in front of everyone here? What does that make me and my husband then, the third son of this family? Xiaochen, your father and your third uncle have always been close. If he learns of what you did to Lin Lin today, then he will undoubtedly be very hurt. By then he might get too angry and throw you out of the Water clan. It's said that the kid was brought in 2 days ago, meaning he's likely insecure inside, and can be easily manipulated and intimidated. Cocking his chin after hearing his mother's threat, the naughty brat regained some of his vigor and started speaking garbage again. That's right, second uncle really likes me. He will definitely throw you out of the Water clan, and have you return to that lowly and filthy mother of yours. Bai Xiaochen could still bear dealing with an annoying brat at the beginning, but when the conversation shifts into Bai Yan, then the gloves are coming off. Without a second thought, the steambun directly kicks his foe in the tummy and sends him rolling back. Damn it, how dare he scold my mother? The beauty became stunned. She didn't expect the boy to be so insane as to hit someone in this situation. However, right as she's about to speak out again, a chilling voice that seems to choke her by the throat spoke up instead. How come I never knew I had a good relationship with Water Longyan? How come I didn't know? Also, why would I go dote on another person's son when I have one already? My son won't suffer any grievances. 3. The man's low voice gave off a hellish vibe there, thus sending the beauty into a frozen state as she stood rigidly in attention. Second brother? Deetsong didn't bother to reply to that call, only coming forward on his own. When he saw how upset his son was though, the man promptly reached out with his hand to give the boy a rub on the head. This maneuver was something Bai Yin did often when she's around, so he wanted to copy it to help elevate the mood. Sure enough, Bai Xiaochen's expression gradually let up as he felt that familiarity. Nevertheless, it won't change the fact that he's very unhappy and upset based on that pursed lip he's making. When that happens, the consequences are dire. Who's your second brother? Deetsong shifts his attention back to the beauty. This body may be the young lord of the Water clan, but this great demon king never once acknowledged he's part of this group. When the dust settles, he would instantly give up this fleshly container and leave. Second brother, I'm Mei Mei, I'm Water Longyun's wife, your sister-in-law. The woman answers with shakiness in her voice. Frowning like he's trying to remember the name, Deetsong's next word downright hurts. No impression. Dunt. The beauty by the name of Mei Mei directly fell over backwards at the blunt reply. She couldn't even bring herself to stand up right now due to the heartache. Truly, the lady thought the other man would at least remember her name, because she had actually tried to pursue him in their youth, and not her current husband. Sadly, despite the effort of this woman and all her attempts at seducing the other side, the already deceased young lord of this Water clan was a dunce and didn't get the hint at all. Then once the man kicked the bucket and Deetsong took over, that's when the already stale relationship devolved to the point where she couldn't even make eye contact. Xiaochen. Deetsong returns his gaze back to the little fella standing beside himself. I said it. You are my son and don't have to take any insult from anyone. My son won't be wronged or insulted. Water Mei Mei couldn't believe what she's heard, and promptly stared up out of reflex. What does he mean by that? Have him kneel on the ground and slap himself. He is not allowed to get back up until I am satisfied. Song states this as a order, not a request. Second, Shin Mei Mei's heart shuddered at the idea. She wanted to say something more to defend her family, but against that frightening pressure, the lady instinctively swallows the pretentious words back down and pleaded instead. Please Lord, Lin Lin is still a child, he really knows his wrong, please spare him. You know you're wrong? Song turns to the brat and asks this. The brat never feared anyone in his life before, not even his old man. However, against this second uncle of his, he felt true fear for once and trembled profusely when replying. I'm wrong, I know I'm wrong. Coldly smirking. I've said it before, Xiachen is my son. Whoever dares to bully him will not be spared. Since you people take my words as a bluff, and only admit to your wrong due to my presence, then Xiachen doesn't need to accept your apology. My son won't suffer any grievances for. In other words, the bratty kid must slap himself until he's satisfied, otherwise the matter won't be put to rest. After all, not even Bai Yan would dare lay a hand on the steam bun when he made a blunder. Why should some random fool be allowed to do so? It would be on Song's head if he left this issue go unpunished. Mom, I don't want to whhh. I don't want to slap myself. I don't want to. The bratty kid sobs continuously, regretting fully on coming today. Of course, the boy still doesn't believe he's in the wrong, just that he shouldn't have done what he did in this manner, and went for another solution. Water Mei Mei was a mother, and as a mother, there's no way she wouldn't want to save her own boy. Unfortunately for her though, the second she cast her eyes upward to meet Song's cold gaze again, her courage crumbled without fault. Lin, be good, do what your second uncle tells you. Do it now. This man is too cruel. It's just a fight between kids and he's going this far. What is he going to do if I refuse right now? Will he kill me? He wouldn't, right? The order from his own mother only brought even more tears to the bratty kid, making him cry louder and louder, gritting those teeth to steel her heart at the disobedience. Lin, if you don't listen then I will leave you in the beggar's den. Then you will be a beggar's child. In this instant, this very second, the bratty kid actually stopped crying, only looking up in disbelief over the very mother that's always been doting and loving to himself. Despite his own grievances, this child also knows his mother would always keep to her words when said, I'll hit. Flushing red in the eye, the boy kneels down to the ground and slaps himself in the face. Against this sight, Water Mei Mei definitely felt the stinging pain as well. She's bleeding inside over what she's ordered. Sadly, as much as she would like to put a stop to this, that threatening gaze from Song left her too helpless and weak. Since you and your husband don't know how to educate your child, then I will. You will learn today on what can be said and what can't be said. In Song's view, his behavior right now wasn't cruel in the slightest. In fact, he's thinking he's already being quite merciful in lecturing someone else's child. After all, he's the great demon king. Such transgressions would have long warranted the death penalty in the other world, let alone a few slaps. Second. Originally Water Mei Mei wanted to plea again after that comment, but the death glare in the next left her too fearful for words. It's a known fact that the man across from herself didn't like others addressing him as family, only as Lord in the formal title. Apparently she didn't quite remember that tidbit until this instant, and kept crossing the line with Song. He's only a child, you wanted to say that, didn't you? Song then continues to speak in a manner like someone that's able to read minds. But he did. That means others were uttering such things around him. As his mother, you are just as guilty. You think I will let this pass so easily after you gossiped behind my back about my wife and child? This time Water Mei Mei could no longer keep her wits together. Plodding to the ground into a prostrating posture. Lord, please spare me. No matter what, I still bared a child for the Water clan. Say what you will, but there are prices to be paid for your loose tongue. Still expressionless and cold as ever, Song's attitude never wavers when dishing out punishment. Someone come, drag this woman and Water Longyan out of the estate. I'm declaring they are no longer part of the Water clan, as of this instant. gawking her eyes out in horror and disbelief. Water Mei almost fainted in that second. She thought at the very most he would beat her or something along those lines, not directly banish them from the family. Her husband's the younger brother of this man. Why, Lord, why are you so cruel? She asks with that shaky voice. Because my wife is coming back, so I need to eliminate all the disharmonious voices of the Water clan. These slurs and gossips will pollute her ear. Boom! The woman's brain exploded into nothingness, not being able to comprehend the gravity of that statement. He said his wife is coming back, that's why he's banishing me and my husband? It's so our words won't contaminate her ear? How can he go to such extent for a woman? Bai Yi's recovery 1. Water Mei always thought she knew enough about the old Ditsong to understand him, but it's until this moment does she realize how foolish she's been. This person, this individual whom she tried to pursue for many years, he's an absolute enigma. Lord, making a bittersweet smile, the beauty slowly pulls herself up from the ground to speak in compliance. I understand now. I will go and clean up my things and leave this place. After saying that, she turned and left without struggle, giving off a frail and unsteady feeling of hopelessness. Make no mistake, it's not like Water Mei didn't want to protest and complain, contrary, she's too smart for that. If the lady had continued to linger and offend the man some more, who knows what might happen by then. Moreover, her husband was the third son of the current house chief. That means Water Longyan would always remain a son of the Water clan. Even if they couldn't remain here for now, it's without a doubt they would return someday once the heat dies down. Retracting his gaze from the woman now that he's done, Ditsong shifts his attention to the boy next to himself. Xiachen, go find your mother now. She should be somewhere in the capital city of this country. I'll go call someone to guide you. Immediately lighting up from his upset little face, Bai Xiachen needed no better news than to find Bai Yan, smiling brightly at the suggestion. Then Batty father, when will you come find us? I'll be there as soon as I can. Slightly sinking in his eyes, Ditsong didn't have confidence in when, so he only said soon. At that, the steambun didn't ask for more details, and instead brought up his own thoughts. Papa, you have to make these people take care of the big doggy and big orange cat. They're my only friends here in this place. Okay. Grinning at his boy's request due to being addressed properly, Ditsong went ahead to ruffle that hair before turning to a middle-aged attendant nearby. You take him to the capital. His order is your utmost priority from here on forward. And if anything happens to him, then you can forget about returning to the Water clan. My son doesn't need to, nor will he suffer any grievances in this world. The middle-aged attendant got white after hearing that order. Despite his own woes at the consequences, he didn't forget what happened to Water Mei mere seconds ago, and hurried to bow his head. Yes, Lord. As wrong as the bratty kid was in coming today for troublemaking, he's not entirely alone in this matter. None of these people from the Water clan took the steambun seriously, one being the unknown birth mother that they never met. They didn't have a clue about her background. Second being how little appearance the little boy made before the public's eye. If the young lord himself didn't show his son around, then why should they take the child seriously? Nevertheless, after today's incident, and of how even the third young master has been expelled from the clan, no one here would ever have that thought again. Back over in the Wen clan, when Fei, stepsister, was currently sitting atop of her own bed, and allowing those spirit particles to infuse into her pores. She wants to verify whether or not Bai Yan was lying to her, and has been hard at work. Regarding the method of cultivation on Earth and the other world, they're mostly the same by absorbing the spirit particles in the air. However, Earth only utilizes this power in their martial arts by covering their body in a thin layer like an armament, while the other world had a better understanding of this force, and could manipulate it to their will by changing its form and use. Also, unlike the other world where power reigns supreme, the spirit particles on Earth could only be described as lacking. For example, those who manages to reach the monarch rank are far and in between on these lands. Like the Water clan here, their founding ancestor still lives today, and had reached the monarch rank due to the support of Black Turtle, But even the old fella could only sit at the monarch rank and not move an inch further. By Yi's recovery too, not needing to wait for long, when Fei Fei soon felt a surge of strength rushing out from within her abdomen. With a bang, she breaks through her bottleneck in a flurry of air gushing out of her pores. If it had been in the past, then the lass would be ecstatic after making such quick progress. However, there's only shock and panic left in those eyes right now as the words of her hated stepsister returned again. Bai Yin is right, my talent for cultivation has really gone up. Then does that mean, at the strike of noon, I will suffer unbearable pain day in and day out? Donk donk donk. It's then a series of door knocks catches her attention, startling the lass and bringing her back to reality. Hurrying to compose herself so others wouldn't notice the oddity in her expression. Come in. Stepping in was none other than Wuxia, the lass's father. Based on the level of love showing in the man's eye, it's clear he's thrown all of the mishaps of today's event out the window. Fei Fei, did you just make a breakthrough? I felt the surge of energy in the air just now and wanted to come check. Stiffly nodding as confirmation, the girl forces the panic back down and makes a smile. Ha ha ha. When Sean didn't notice the oddity and grew elated, laughing aloud for all to hear. Patting his daughter's shoulder. My Fei Fei is wonderful, you really are. I did not expect you to make a breakthrough this quickly after your last. But you did, and that brings me great joy knowing you are my daughter. Brother Shen. Chai Moon also follows closely from behind after sensing the change in the air as well. Even if my Fei Fei's talent is higher, it will still not compare to Yenner's. I speculate she's already grown to heights we can only imagine. At the mention of his unfilial older daughter, Wen Shan's expression promptly turned ugly, because he didn't want to remember. Enough, Mooner. No one is allowed to mention that unfilial girl in this house again. She even wants to kill me, his own father. That girl is no daughter of mine, and I will not recognize her as such anymore. Chai Moon appears to want to speak again after that outburst, but after moving those lips a bit and stammering some more, she said nothing in the end and left it at that. Then that's when it happened during their conversation. A ringing gong of the old clock downstairs in the living room. Immediately, when Fei Fei's complexion turned ghastly white as her body trembled profusely, sweat rolling down her forehead like she's just came out of a pool. Fei Fei. Chai Moon was the first to notice the change and cried out in haste. What's wrong? Are you feeling unwell? Although she had previously asked Wen Fei Fei on what Bai Yin fed her, but due to the fear of the consequences of others knowing, the lass in question didn't tell her own mother and kept it a secret. It hurts. Clenching her fist, the girl throws herself on the bed and began rolling around. Pa ma, it hurts, it really hurts. That pain could only be described as someone throwing her onto a grinding plate and then mashing her bones to powder. It's tearing her mind apart and sucking the air out of the lung. Fei Fei. Chai Moon screamed at the terrible sight and attempts to help. What's wrong? What's wrong with you? Why is this happening? Bai Yin, she fed me poison. She said that at the strike of noon, I will become like this from now on. It hurts, ma. It hurts, please kill me, kill me. Even until the end, she didn't want to reveal the secret to her pain. That's how much this current lifestyle meant for Wen Fei Fei. But then again, it couldn't be helped. The lass understands her own father very well. If it becomes known that only by destroying her dantian could she be relieved from such pain, then this man would definitely abandon them. Afterwards, the riches of life would be a fleeting memory, and they would return to the life of a beggar. Fei Fei. When Sean also steps forward and wanted to help his daughter up from the bed, but when he saw the twisted face his daughter made, those hands instinctively faltered and retracted away. Are you sure it was Bai Yin who did it? By Yi's recovery 3. Brother Sean. Chai Moon wept uncontrollably and started to beg her husband. Did you forget? Bai Yin force-fed Fei Fei a pill before she left. That must the poison. I've done my best to be good to her. Yet why is she doing this to my Fei Fei? That said, the woman gradually took to the ground as she continued to weep. She's a mother. And as a mother, there's no way she wouldn't feel the much pain despite her foul nature. If there's any fault then it's my fault. Fei Fei is innocent. She couldn't have chosen her own birth. It's all because of my mistake that she has to suffer. Brother Shan, please help her, please save our Fei Fei. That was a sound argument from Chai Moon's mouth, however. The woman apparently forgot the sort of harsh treatment when Fei Fei dished out to Bai Yi, who was also innocent in the whole story. Also, he ignored the fact that it's these two who stole Bai Yan's belonging and caused her to lash out. Otherwise this incident wouldn't occur in the first place. Being the gullible him, when Shan didn't put too much thought into those words, and simply accepted it as fact. Fei Fei is indeed innocent. She can't choose her own birth, nor is Yenner qualified to hurt her. But Yenner said it before. If I go bother her then she'll kill me, her own father. In that second, Chai Moon's heart could only be described as cold and disappointed. In particular was how cowardly her husband was acting even when it's about saving their own daughter. It's giving her the shivers because she suddenly recalled back to how this man abandoned Bai Yu, which allowed herself to take over this home. Brother Shan, pulling herself up, the woman suddenly stopped weeping and showed a bittersweet smile as she spoke. We may not be able to get Bai Yan to yield, but don't forget, in this city there's still a Bai Ran. Frowning at the name, when Shan didn't quite get what his wife was getting at, but let her continue anyways. Bai Ran married General Ling Kaiyuan's son. If the public finds out her niece did such inhumane things, then it will certainly impact the old general's name. The Ling family won't let that happen, which is why we need to force Bai Ran into helping us get that antidote. Gently closing her eyes, Chai Moon began to sob again to push her plot. Brother Shan, Ling Kaiyuan is a credit to the country, and I respect him for that. But I don't know what else to do as a frail woman. I'm a mother. Seeing my daughter suffer is unbearable for me. Besides, you don't want to lose a talented daughter, do you? He didn't feel moved at the sobbing from his wife. He didn't feel moved at the sight of his daughter's suffering. But this coward did feel moved once the topic of a talented daughter got brought up. It's true. He doesn't want to lose this daughter, who had caught the eye of his old man, who was the current chief of the Wen clan. I'll try as much as I can. If Bai Ran is not willing then there's no other way. After all, she's still yours younger sister. Acting all submissive after getting her way, the woman deliberately lowers her face to hide that smirking grin. If that's your wish, Brother Shan, I won't object to your decision. At the same time, somewhere not too far away, Bai Yi had just gotten herself settled inside a hotel room when her mind started wander off in recounting today's various events. It's like a dream to this girl, who's been poorly treated by others so far in life. Sister Bai Yan is really back. I don't have to live in the basement anymore. Thinking up to here, Bai Yi's heart would feel all sweet and melty like being smothered in honey. The only demerit from all this would be the fact that Bai Yan said she couldn't take her along. But that's too far ahead for this girl to think about right now. Donk donk, exactly then a knock from the door catches her attention, causing the girl to rush over to the doorway, where a dazzling female stood. Sister Bai Yan, she exclaims, wowed by how beautiful Bai Yan has become after some rest and cleaning. Take this. Bai Yan didn't mind the overreaction from her foster sister, and handed a pill over. Bai Yi's recovery for. Taken aback by the gift in her hand, Bai Yi nearly drops it before catching it after a fumble. This is Dan pill. It will allow you to cultivate your internal dantian again. The reason why Bai Yan did not stay in the same room as her foster sister was because she's busy making this pill. Preparations must be made, and she doesn't have all that much time. Boom! The sound of explosion rocked the young lass's brain, her eyes falling into a daze of incredulous disbelief. Sister Bai Yan, you don't need to comfort me. I know my dantian is already destroyed. There's no way to cultivate anymore. Others can't let you anymore, but that doesn't mean I can't. Smiling to stir her sister's mood, Bai Yan reaches over to hold those hands as reassurance. I said it already, before I leave. I will make sure this place is safe for you to live. This pill is one of the things to help improve your strength. While I'm here for the next short while, I will oversee your entire training progress. Despite the comfort, Bai Yi still had the dull look of someone that couldn't take in reality. Can I really practice martial arts, cultivate my dantian again? It's not like this girl always had such negative outlooks in life. But ever since her life got turned upside from her Shifu perishing one day, then her dantian being ruined by Wen Feifei's cruelty, this orphan lass had no one else to turn to. Imagine living a life on such an unstable path, after being left on the streets? The amount of hardship would be something most wouldn't ever experience, let alone understand. Using this uncertain mindset, Bai Yi stiffly went towards the bed. She intends to do as told and practice again after consuming the pill. But things take time, and this time would be for the whole night. Next morning, without deviating from the expected plan, the lass's shattered dantian had started to show signs of recovery. She could feel it. Unfortunately, the progress she made in the past didn't return, and would require it all to be redone in strides. But that's not an issue at all, does it? The important bit was there's hope again. Looking out the window, Bai Yi once again regained the lost energy that she once held in the past. She's rejuvenated. It looks like your dantian is starting to recover. It's then Bai Yan's voice drifted over. Elated by the voice, the lass swings her head around to meet those familiar eyes. Sister Bai Yan, how did you get in here without me opening the door? Chuckling at the silliness of that question. You didn't close your door properly last night, so how do you think I got in here? Oh! Scratching the back of her head in embarrassment, Bai Yi also starts to chuckle like she used to as a child. I guess my old habits are still there. I forgot to close my room like I used to. Sister Bai Yan, I'm not dreaming, right? I can really practice martial art and cultivate again? If it's a dream, then I would rather not wake up again. Aching in the heart again, Bai Yan didn't need any more hint on the sort of hardship her immaturity had brought upon this foster sister of hers. Quickly nodding so she wouldn't get any strange thoughts. Of course, when did I ever lie to you? Sniffling in the nose like she's about to cry now, Bai Yi couldn't hold back her emotions anymore. Sister Bai Yan, I can't even begin to describe what I'm feeling right now. When Shifu passed away and you were gone, I didn't have anyone left. Then when Wen Feifei destroyed my dantian, I really wanted to jump into a river and end my life. I didn't have any hope, only struggling to live each day like a zombie. Pausing to hold in her swelling tears. But I can see the light now. My dantian has recovered. Not fully, but I can feel it mending. Even if I don't have all the strength I had in the past, I will work hard and not bring shame to Shifu again. I vow to avenge her with my all. 10 years ago, it was Bai Yu who adopted her and gave her courage to live. So in this girl's heart, that woman was like a god, a goal she must pursue with her all. As for Bai Yan, well, that lady's too outstanding to the point the younger sister here couldn't even imagine catching up. Saving a lowly one. Bai Yan soon left the hotel after confirming Bai Yi's well-being. She had other things to do, however. She didn't make it far before being called out by someone from the back. Hey beautiful, is it really you? The voice belongs to a handsome man, who directly ran ahead to get in her way. Stopping in her step at recognizing who it was, Bai Yan pricks her brow in amusement. You need something? Didn't you say you were going to come find me, oh beautiful? I waited all night, and you didn't come. Thank goodness I came searching and found you here. So how is it, do you have a portrait of your son yet? Ling Lang's, her cousin. Mouth carried the iconic smile that he so commonly used to seduce the other sex, showing how much he's trying to put on a good image here. Sure, the other side had a son already, and he doesn't know she's his cousin as well. But being the flirtatious playboy that he was, why shouldn't he go for her when there's no mention of a husband? Heck, in this modern age, it's not uncommon to find a single mother at all. Not uncommon at all. Oh, Bai Yan actually forgot about the portrait and found herself in a bind. Do you have a brush in your home? I can draw a portrait of him now. If this silly cousin of mine helps, then it will be easier to find Xiachen. Why not? Of course we can go to my home. I sent the jade to my grandfather last night, and he liked it a lot. Grinning in the face like a curious little wolf. I say beautiful, I still haven't gotten your name yet. And where is your husband? I haven't seen anyone with you so far. My name is Bai Yan. Smiling at the mention of her possessive husband, Bai Yan's happiness couldn't be hidden. My husband is not of this world. Oblivious to how misleading her own sentence was there, Bai Yan only meant it as Deedsong being in the celestial realm right now, and not on earth. However, that sentence had an entirely different meaning for Ling Lang's ear, who immediately perked up. So her husband's dead? It's not easy for a woman to raise a child on her own. No wonder she's struggling to find her son. Thinking of this, the playboy's gaze towards Bai Yan now had a hint of pity. Forgive me, Ms. Bai Yan. I shouldn't have mentioned your husband without knowing better. As for your son, I will try my best to help you find him. Nodding at that, the lady here didn't think much else of her cousin's kind words. She and him are relatives, so why would blood-related family have that kind of thought towards each other? Unfortunately for this woman though, she apparently forgot Ling Lang doesn't know they are cousins, and kept thinking of her as an outsider. Nothing much happened during the following drive towards the man's home, or at least in the beginning. Bai Yan was sitting in the passenger seat to rest herself, while occasionally nodding to Ling Lang's constant yapping. Then it occurred, a swirling sports car that came out of nowhere on the road in front of them. Out of reflex, Ling Lang twisted the wheel and hit the brake as hard as he could. Unfortunately for the poor guy, it's too late, and by the time he realizes it, the car had rammed into a nearby pole. Fuck. Who is driving that car? Do they know how to drive? Jumping out of the vehicle despite the trickling blood down his forehead, due to him hitting the windshield, Ling Lang lashes out with vigor in his voice. Saving a lowly too. Infuriated and in the heat of the moment, Ling Lang didn't think much of the incident, and began to dial the number of the police using his cell. However, his hands soon stopped when he realizes the sports car ahead wasn't stopping, and appeared to be losing control, crashing into anything in its way. Specifically, the little girl that's around years old staring cluelessly at the incoming vehicle. She's in a daze due to how sudden it's coming at her. Smile. There's fluster in the man's eye as he ran towards the child. Unfortunately, the distance between him and the child made it impossible for him to get in the way. In that moment, Ling Lang's entire world seems to come apart as his head exploded into a blank stupor. But then as all hope was lost, where everyone expected the lowly girl to be ruthlessly hit by the vehicle and die from the impact, something unexpected occurred. The car hit something alright. Not the little girl though, something unmoving and hard, sending the car tumbling into the air and spinning like a wheel before crashing into another corner of the road. All had gone quiet then, leaving the street so silent that they could hear a pin drop. The reason? That's because in front of the lowly girl stood a woman, a young female wearing a red skirt and a tight blouse that emphasized her hips. Ling Lang didn't freeze like everyone else in this case, running over to the little lowly like he's seen salvation. Smile, how come you are here? Where's your bodyguard and babysitter? How come you are alone? Perhaps it's due to the danger finally passing and giving the lowly a chance to breath. But immediately after she came back to her senses, the child by the name of Smile promptly broke out into a cry. Big brother, I'm so scared. Hurrying to pull the girl into his arms like it would protect her some more, this playboy that gave off an aloof air began to caress that head to soothe the shock inside the child. It's okay, Smile, it's safe now, so don't be afraid. Tell me first, why are you here and alone? It was Auntie Wu who took me out. Ling Smile answers honestly, her mood calming down as she wiped some of those tears, then turning around to search for the mentioned person. Where's Auntie Wu? Ling Lang's face got very ugly. It doesn't take much for him to connect the dots on what's going on here, and what that Auntie Wu did today. But against the little lowly's frightened appearance, he could only hold it in and keep that fury for another time. This is a setup. I need to tell Grandpa right away. Bai Yan, I have to thank you. The man turns to the girl's savior with a look of great gratitude. She is my little sister. Her name is Ling Smile. Thank goodness she is here, otherwise I don't even want to think about the consequences. But then once he regained his composure and recalled the incredible sight of Bai Yin stepping in front of the car with one hand outstretched. His eyes would instinctively narrow in. This woman, she's a martial cultivator? Ling Lang may not be a cultivator, but he's heard enough from his mother Bai Yu about the world of martial artists. Most of those known to the public are nothing more than average with big muscles to show off their brute strength. However, there are gems among the mundane, like breaking rocks and bending steel with their bare hands. And some could even use their internal energy as armaments like real weapons. Why did you just do that? Bai Yin didn't show the same smiling face as her cousin though. Her expression carried the stern look of a lecturing teacher. Do you know how dangerous it is if the other side intended for that? You would be dead if they wished to harm you. Hanging his head, the man understood what she meant. I know they are aiming for Smile and my family. Bai Yin, you are a kind woman to tell me that. Anyways, that's my family's business, and we will handle it accordingly. My home is nearby so we can walk the rest of the way. Let me make a call first though. I need to get a tow truck here to pull my car. As unhappy as Bai Yin was at her cousin's carelessness, she also knew the fault didn't lie with these two, who was victim of this attack. Then recalling back to the car, she swiftly turns her gaze to the driver's seat of the flipped vehicle. That car, there's no one driving it. A normal person would undoubtedly be freaked out by the lack of a driver. However, Bai Yin could tell someone was controlling it using some sort of ability. There's no way a malfunction would push a vehicle to that kind of speed. That's unreasonable and unrealistic. What are those in the shadows planning? Are they aiming for the Ling family, or just Ling Smile? Or perhaps, they're aiming at them because of me? In this world on Earth, Bai Yin had no other family left aside from Bai Yi and her aunt Bai Ran. If someone intends to hurt her remaining family, then the gloves are coming off. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.